Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Marcia Week Show, and we are coming to you live from Barbados. Oh my goodness, we're having some challenges there, but there I am. How are you doing? This is a beautiful Sunday. It is April the 13th, and it is 7:01 p.m., and we are excited to be with you tonight. The Marcia Week Show, where we educate, we motivate, we mobilize, we agitate Africa and the African diaspora. And we are excited that you have joined us tonight. So we're going to try again. We have a wonderful song that we want to play for you tonight. I just had a little technical difficulty, but you know how it goes. It's live TV, and we're going to try again. All right, so we're having the same challenge. We're having the same challenge. Okay, no problem. So we're gonna move right along, right along. Good night to everybody who's watching again. As you can see on screen, the topic is Voices of the Awakened. No more sleeping. Voices of the Awakened. No more sleeping. Are you sleeping? Is anybody out there sleeping? Who is sleeping? Who is sleeping? Listen, there comes a time in every generation when silence is betrayal. We know that very well in this country. When sleep is not rest, but death in disguise. Barbados, that time is now. We are the voices of the awakened. And our voices are going to ring all throughout this nation, throughout the region, throughout the diaspora. Yes? The ones who have rubbed the scales from our eyes and cast off the fog of deception. We have seen the lies paraded as truth, the puppets dressed as leaders, the poisoned marketed as food, and the slavery sold as freedom. And we say no more. No more sleeping while our children are programmed. No more sleeping while our culture is sold back to us at a profit. Or as they're selling off our land. No more sleeping while the systems of power squeeze the spirit out of the people. We have awakened not just to speak, but to shake the foundations. Let that sink in, Barbados. We have awakened. You know, some people, you get out of the bed and you said, well, I'm up. To do what? It's not just to speak and to say I'm awakened, but we are ready to shake the foundations. Anybody ready to shake the foundations? If you are ready to shake the foundations of colonial systems, colonial ideologies, bad governance, all of those systems, let me see thumbs up. Put the thumbs up in the comment section. We have awakened not just to speak, but to shake the foundations of lies, propaganda, manipulation, mind control, to disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed, to raise our voices like trumpets in Zion and say, your time is up. We are saying to this government, your time is up. Government, your time is up. We will raise our voices like trumpet in Zion and say, government, your time is up. The covenant is broken. That covenant from 2018 that we went and we got ourselves in a covenant because their first manifesto was called Covenant of Hope. This was a spiritual thing that they got us in. But we are awakened, Barbados. And we say, government, your time is up. This is a season of remembrance, of returning to our true self, of rising in love and righteous defiance. The earth is groaning. Barbados, the earth is groaning for the manifestation of the true Barbadian. The earth is groaning for the manifestation of the true Barbadian, of the true Caribbean person, of the true African. The earth is groaning. The youth are searching for us. The youth are searching. The youth are lost because they're searching for us. And the ancestors are watching. Boss are watching. They are all watching. Sarah and Gail and all of them. They are watching us to know what are we going to do in this time. This is not a moment, Barbados. It's a movement. And the awakened will lead it. We are the awakened and we will lead this. We are the opposition, the loyal opposition. That is what we are. And we will lead this awakening. All of us together. I keep telling us that the opposition is more than just us that we are on a night over 1,000 people watching. And then the others who watch later. It's more than that. It's the 280,000 of us here in Barbados. Our ancestors are watching us. The youth are waiting upon us. The very ground, the earth in Barbados is groaning. So to those still dozing under the weight of media manipulation and digital sedation, you know, you're on the phone and you're scrolling. We cry out. Those of you who still dozing, everybody, I want in your house, those of you in your house, I want you to say, wake up. Everybody, say, wake up. So wake up, say, wake up loud that your neighbor could hear. Can your neighbor hear you? Wake up. The battle is here. Did you say wake up? Let's say wake up and let your neighbors think you're mad. To the ones already arising, we are going to link arms, strengthen our hearts, and we're going to raise our voices because we are the voices of the awakened and we will not go back to sleep. We ain't going back to sleep, Barbados. We ain't going back to sleep. Oh, Lord, we not going back to sleep, y'all. Everybody say, wake up. Wake up the neighbors. Say it loud and they're going to think you're mad and someone send it to Black Rock. Yes. Oh my goodness. Let me welcome my people. Nigel Carrington, it's great to see you tonight. Queen B, how are you? Oh wow, we are part of this righteous revolution. Marcia, Monica Ince, Mildred Ben, Bonnie Springer. Oh wow. How are you, Jacqueline Allen? How are you doing? Matthew Brown, how are you? Mystic Angel, how are you doing? Shirley. Oh my goodness. Aunt Cecilia. Andrea Critchlow. We are waking up. Actually, we've woken up. We are the awakened ones. Andrea, are you part of the awakened ones? Are you part of the ones ready to take back this country? Are you a part of the ones saying we're ready to break the covenant? Who ready to break the covenant? Oh, we are so awakened. Nothing is going to keep us down, guys. Tammy. Oh, good night, Cammy. Good night, Tony. Good night, Tony. Cecilia Miller, we ready. Aye. Tony say eyes wide open. Yes, we're ready. Tony. Jacqueline. Woo! We're ready. Teroni, eyes wide open, right? Your voice is awakened. No more sleeping. Teroni, let me hear your shout out. Shout out loud, Teroni. Say, wake up. Kim Tay. Oh, wow. Woo. Oh, my Lord, man. I'm feeling the power tonight. M. Gardner. Kim Tay. Woohoo. Sherrington Holder. Oh, my goodness. Theory. Marius. Kim Tay. Oh, my goodness. Sue. Tony Paris, Rachel Dornell. Oh my goodness, Kim Tay. We said Kim Tay already. Kim, I'm greeting you so many times today. Night. Richard Reed, how are you? Woo, we are ready. Listen, you feeling this thing? Who feeling this thing on this Palm Sunday? Palm Sunday, Holy Week, we break the chains. They're trying to put back on us. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, no, no. That ritual that they're planning to have on the 20th. No, 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 no. No more shackles. Sherry Berry. I love it. Cherry Berry. Pedro Jarrett, Emmalyn, anybody feeling it. Miss Electronic Crazy. No longer do we accept mediocrity. Correct. Born again. Cool guy. Yes. Oh my goodness. Whoa, wow. Come on, cool guy. We're speaking. We're not speaking. We're speaking figuratively, man. It's not real. Don't go there. Figuratively. Just like we the in the Bible where they said what scripture was that? In Corinthians, and it talks about all the ancestors. It tells you that they're cheering us on. One could say, aren't they dead? It's not. It's in the Bible. Come on, let's not go there. It's not real. We know it's not. It's not literal. It's figurative speaking that they're watching us. Okay, Joy and Faith, Andrea Critchlow, Emilo, Judy Jinx, Serlene, Lucinda, Relentless. Oh, yes, but Pedro, we're breaking that. We're breaking that. Fabian, good evening. Good evening. Good evening, one and all. Good evening. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful evening this is. We are going to go right into the national anthem. And guys, I wanted to stay with us tonight. Stay with us. Keep the excitement going because something is happening in Barbados. The breaking has begun. That covenant is broken. It is broken. Woo! Okay, so let's stand for the playing of the national anthem. Yes, 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 people. Oh, yes. That is our national anthem, and that is the song of the awakened. It is a song of the awakened. Oh my word. It is a song of the awakened. Well, we had a fantastic weekend. You know, it was a big weekend. It started on Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. We had our we had the march, and you know, we went and supported those within the church arena, because they had something that mattered to them. And so we are the loyal opposition, and we're going to join them, right? That's what we do. And we supported them, we facilitated, we helped, because you know, we've been doing the marches, and we provided any support that we could. Our team, the regular team that normally volunteers to do the marches, so we supported. I want to say a big thank you to the loyal opposition for being there to serve. That's what we are. We're there to serve the people of Barbados. That's it. That's it. And so, Sandra, good night to you. But it was good to be there, and it was very powerful. There were lots of prayers that went up, and lots of worship, and you know, that's what it was about. I mean, them representing what it is that their concerns, and the concern is that they believe that it is sacrilegious to have Vybz Kartel being in a concert on Easter Sunday, and so that was what they were, you know, they were speaking of. And you know, I'm really, I was really happy to be there. We have a little video here just before the march started, and this is Apostle Lucille Beard, who I want to say, you know, much respect to this woman who came out and you know, was on for today. So at the march, so I just want to say a big shout out to her. Go right ahead, Dave.
Well, here, if you come to sing songs, I would encourage them to be involved in drugs and things that are negative. And we will have more increase in murders. We said not about here. We will welcome you if you come here for good. But if you come for negative, we will not allow that. We say not about here. We declare that Easter is a holy day unto the Lord. Easter is a holy day for the church, and it must stay that way. And we rebuke and push back on anybody who will want to come here to desecrate the holy day that the church has been looking forward to celebrate for years and years and years and years now. Praise God. And so we're saying to you, we love you, but do the right thing. Behave the right way. Sing the right songs. And we're saying to the promoters, if you think you can just bring anybody here to do anything, this country still belongs to God. This country, Barbados, still belongs to God. And this country still belongs to the people. And the people still have a voice to make a decision as to what they want and who they want to come into their shores. And when you come here, you got to do it right or don't come. Come understanding that there are people of the church in Barbados who love their God, who know their God, they're strong, and they will do exploits on behalf of God. Praise God. And so, but our word to Mr. Vybz Kartel and the promoters right now is this. We are definitely against your coming here to sing and parade on Easter or Sunday, where the church look forward to quiet reflection and worship. Yes, and worship and honor God. In fact, we are not in agreement with any other day if you're coming with something negative. If you're negative, stay away. If you're positive, you're welcome. So the church today is saying loud and clear with her feet on the ground, nowhere in this country and not on Easter.
Yes, and as I said, very powerful. You know, that march was, and very much necessary. And only this evening, someone sent me a reminder, and I'm just going to take the couple minutes and in this beginning part of the show to remind us of something that happened a couple years ago. Did you remember when Prime Minister Mia Mottley condemned the Trojan rhythm, the Barbados dancehall mix? So Barbados was trying to get into this whole culture of these dancehall mix, and everybody sing on a rhythm as they do in Jamaica, and they were pushing the violence, a theme in the dancehall mix. How many of you remember? Let me see the thumbs up if you remember. Yes. Okay, and this is Prime Minister Motley here, and she was condemning this was in 2023, only 2 years ago, on April 18th. April 18th. April 18th, 2023. Prime Minister Mia Mottley has strongly condemned the Trojan rhythm Barbados dancehall mix. And why was she doing that? And I thought she was right in doing that. She says, as the article says, actually, if let me try to open it here. As the region seeks solutions to crime, one Caribbean leader is calling on artists to examine the music they put out. You see why we call the Prime Minister a hypocrite? This is why this Prime Minister, those of you who are listening all over the world that you love this Prime Minister, this is why we call this Prime Minister a hypocrite. April 18th, she was calling. They said if there was one Caribbean Prime Minister, Caribbean leader, calling on the artists to examine the music they put out. Right? Okay. Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley said we cannot have Caribbean music denigrating women and promoting guns. So what is Vybz Kartel doing? She said we cannot have Caribbean music denigrating women and promoting guns. This has nothing to do with curtailing anybody's freedom of speech. It has to do with the mirror image. Prime Minister Mia Mottley, so it only goes to the artists in Barbados? Prime Minister Mia Mottley, it's only for the artists in Barbados and not for the artists from Jamaica or Trinidad or anywhere else? This is the biggest hypocrite. That's the hypocrite there on the screen. Hypocritical. You are going to condemn the artists in Barbados. But Vybz Kartel is going to come into this country and play and being paid millions. She says it had nothing to do with curtailing anybody's freedom of speech. It has to do with a mirror image. At the end of the day, says the Prime Minister, we are looking into the mirror and only seeing women as an object. Then that is how people are going to treat them in our societies. That's what the Prime Minister said then in 2023. It's 2025. It was April 18, 2023 that this Prime Minister, this hypocritical Prime Minister, she said in a statement, Motley said, Barbara, I was reading from a nation. No, look at this on my screen. I am horrified by the video, and I'm personally disappointed in the artists who have not recognized that there is an obligation on their part to accept that to whom much is given, much is expected. Hello? No, man. Either Miss Piggy is either the biggest hypocrite there is or completely confused. I am not making it up, because some of you are on here, you say, oh, you love to come and talk against the Prime Minister. I am reading what she said. And if she didn't say that, she should go to Barbados today and to the nation and have them retract the statements. This is what she said of our artists in Barbados. If they would go up a little bit more. Oh, that was it. That was it. Now, if you could just put up the ones of it was Little Rick and Peter Ram, and she was asking everybody to that they had to apologize to the nation. Do you see? I'm telling you, we are waking. We're up. We are the voice of the awakened. No more sleeping. We are awakened to the hypocrisy of our leader and of this government. Let them know we are awakened to the hypocrisy. The artists who took part in the explicit chosen rhythm video, now the most controversial various artist track in Barbados popular music, have given varying reactions to criticism from the Prime Minister of Barbados, church leaders, and business community. Peter Ram and Lead Pipe, they issued statements, asking for apology. Little Rick said he wasn't going to apologize. But this is what I'm telling you. The great pretender, Chester, you're right. The great pretender. The great fork tongue. That's what Caswell called her, fork tongue. Behave like a serpent, a fork tongue. And you watching from the government, you go back and let her know that her eyes are open to her hypocrisy and what she has done to the artists in Barbados, humiliated them for nothing, it seems. We were praising her and thought that you were doing something good, but no, you have somebody coming in to sing the same lyrics and worse. I'm going to send a video to Dave to put up. And I warn you, Mr. Murray is coming, but Mr. Murray, I warn you that this is graphic. So if you have children right now, I'm going to ask you to let them not watch the show, but I have to show it to you. Okay? You just hang on. Let me show you what. Let me show you what they're doing right now. Vybz Kartel is having a concert in Brooklyn. You know me. I will stay on top of it, right? We're staying on top of this. Dave, check your WhatsApp. I was between two minds whether to play it tonight or not. When I play it, then I'm going to bring in Mr. Murray. But what I'm trying to show you, folks, it's how our artists are treated in this country. There's just as much as Alison Hinds is a big international artist. Little Rick he's a big artist in Barbados. They cannot even get 20% of what Kartel is going to be paid to come in to sing dirty and nastiness and export everything that's bad from Jamaica. All of those artists that's coming in, Tommy Lee and Spice. As a Jamaican, I condemn what you are doing. I condemn your nastiness. You are exporting that into this country in a time when we have the murder rate in Barbados is now higher than yours, and that's what is being exported. We have better things in better things in culture in Jamaica that can be exported. I condemn it. And when I show you the video, they are coming with the same lineup. I have researched it. The same lineup. He's at the Brooklyn Center right now. Look at this. Look at my screen. Play that, Dave.
I love my job. That's how let's keep it small. Look like you can't work it. But look at that.
What's up, though?
And every girl down the man to man, girl to girl, that's wrong.
Make sure you know if you walk on a because longer than me now. Tell me what you like. You want me try, you want to rock it like a ball. You want me
I know it's graphic, but I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you, and this is a lineup. They are leaving Brooklyn, and as far as I know, they're coming here. This is what is being exported from Jamaica into our country, and there's no outcry. The Prime Minister said what Lilarick, what Peter Ram did, all of that, it was denigrating to women, and it was not acceptable in Barbados. And gang violence and violence in music and in lyrics not accepted in Barbados, only if it is somebody from outside of Barbados. That's basically what Prime Minister Mia Mottley is saying. Mr. Murray, good evening. Sorry to show you something so graphic, sir, but I had to do that. Good evening. Welcome to the
Good
Marcy
evening.
Root Show. I'm hot tonight.
Thank you. But I
You're
want
muted?
to
Are you muted or it's my sound?
probably your song.
Okay, so I'm having a problem with my sound. Keep speaking, Mr. Murray. I will go off and come back in, okay?
Okay.
Yes, you keep going.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marcy. And you are smoking. You're not only hot, you're smoking. And I hope you do some burning figuratively tonight too. I think one thing I need to point out to you that what nobody yet has focused on is the venue for the Vybz Kartel show. The big cane ground, alias the Botanical Garden. And where is that Botanical Garden sited? In the heart of the Prime Minister's constituency. And the Prime Minister is trying hard to make what really is nothing but still a big cane ground. You only change the name, put in Botanical Gardens, and put in very few real features of real classic, well-defined botanical gardens, because that is a really just another entertainment venue in the constituency. And you shouldn't be alarmed that the Vybz Kartel how much more money he's going to make in Barbados than the average Barbadian artist. That has been a tradition. One of the reasons why the artists for years for that reggae show have loved to come to Barbados, even before it was under its present ownership, was that they got the best payday in Barbados. They got paid better paid in Barbados than in Jamaica, than in Trinidad, than even the United States. Big US dollars. So therefore, they love to come to Barbados. And what I had been hoping to hear, apart from the Prime Minister's determination to have it, because I think a major fact it is in their constituency. Don't forget when we first heard about the groundbreaking ceremony for the Afro-Mexican Bank. It came from the mouth of one of a businessman who said he come from the Prime Minister's constituency, and he was there to carry out some business that clear the site. So there are transactions and transactions. So the show will have people from the Prime Minister's constituency working it too. So it's all about catering to that element. So I really would have hoped that with all the brouhaha, although I think that the protests from the churches came too late after the deed had been done. I thought that at least we would have been told that the Prime Minister or the government or somebody on her behalf would have said they had consultation with the Vybz Kartel's management, and they had vetted the list and had been assured and had looked at the songs and lyrics, and had been assured that a cleansed version of his show would be presented in Barbados. But we have been given no such assurance. I'm not sure if it ever took place, but I thought that would have been a responsible thing to do, to interact with the Vybz Kartel management and make sure that, and also not only vet the content of the show before he performs, but also let the police be aware of what the lyrics are supposed to be like, and if they were violated, shut down the show. That's what you show. What you show is serious discipline. All that is discipline being expressed and manifested at the show, And that kind of discipline we manifested across society with people who would want to break the law or whatnot. Otherwise, you don't set the practical example that needs to be set. So I think that we are in for the show. We have to wait and see what materializes at the show. But I hope you hear me now. You heard me okay now, Marcy?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Good. Okay. So but what I like to say is, as I go on to my topic, which is CBC at 61 plus, dying, question mark, for sale, question mark, or to be given away to, question mark. And I deliberately chose that because it is interesting that your topic tonight talks about voices, and we open up the voices. We're not going to be silent anymore. And this is happening at a time when the government, in some form or fashion, is working to further silence CBC. And I literally suppose the voice for the people, of the people, is a government-owned entity. And I know some people, because CBC has been around with us since in radio since December 1963, and TV since December 1964. So over 60 plus years, we will have seen CBC as ours. It's part of us. It belongs to us, and therefore we feel proud when it succeeds and does well, and we're ashamed and embarrassed when it performs abysmally poorly. And it has been. What disappoints me is that even on its 60, as it is in the throes of maybe dying or death, I'm not sure what's happening, it is still performing very poorly, because CBC was really a very noble experiment. CBC was meant to do a lot of good for Barbados. It was a very noble experiment, but it wasn't allowed to fulfill its full potential because of gross political interference by all the governments and all the parties, the BAP, including the party and the government that I once belonged to while we were in office. And I will talk about my own experience with that. But if you can, therefore, let me put the role of CBC in its proper context. If you can go to slide 1, and you read slide 1 for me, for the people.
Yes. It says here, the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation Act of 1963 was enacted to provide, in accordance with this act, broadcasting services of high quality, both as to transmission and as to the matter transmitted.
Right. Thank you very much. So it had a clear mandate, and for a while it started to do that. But then, like I said, the political hands got involved. They could not resist the temptation to interfere, either by staffing, by programming, by spinning and interfering with the news. Those were that had been the norm for CBC up until unfortunately, until it's almost a couple of Sundays ago, almost on its, when it was virtually going out in existence as we knew it, when the CBC covered the Barbados Labour Party's 87th Founders Day service in St. James at the church. What you saw on CBC in the news was some of the most cruel and vicious political machinations and I've ever seen. What you saw with the CBC cameras showed you tight crowds, groups of people, as though it was well attended, but it was not. And anybody who saw the very same service on YouTube, it's still there now, go and see, and you will see the gaps. That was not well attended, it's not well organized, it was really below the standard of what I had seen. And I know because the last one I helped to organize was in 2013 at White Park Tabernacle or such, and it was rammed, as they say. So we know, but it was not well attended, it was not well organized, and it was badly portrayed to the public to make it seem as though it was a roaring success, a tight crowd. No, it was not. And not only that, it was a meeting by the BLP being held in a BLP stronghold, St. James North, where they are due to have a by-election in some coming months. So one would think that with all those elements in the mix, they would have a powerful turnout, a strong turnout to reassert their presence and their dominance in the constituency. and it was not. But let me tell you a bit more about the political that has gone into CBC.
Yes.
What the government seemed not to have learned, and this is what Prime Minister Arthur they discussed, because at one time we had day-to-day responsibility for broadcasting, GIS, including CBC, and we had discussed that every government that has been changed in Barbados had been changed, except for had been changed when when the government in power controlled CBC. Okay, so in other words, seek to dominate CBC as the government in power had no impact on the results of elections when the time came for a change.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we decided that we would have a hands-off policy, and I did it because of my background in journalism. I was not prepared to violate the principles and the ethics of a profession I love so much and spent so much time in. So the only he never once got involved. He never once asked me to because our principle. I never once did, because the only involvement I would have had around 5:30 on evenings, I would call the news editor and say, are there any stories about government that would need a government response that you don't have that I would need to get before the news? That is all. Never tried to change the story. If I know who's the lead story, who's coming, nothing. No. That was all I did. So it is possible to leave it at that thing. And I'm also at that. Let's say I'm proud to say that CBC had not made very many profits up to that time. But the next year, 1995, for the year 1995, we recorded a profit because I brought onto the board a gentleman by the name of Robert Fowler, who was an accountant, a very good accountant at the nation. So he said, that is the kind of skills you want on the board. And told him, do what you have to do to improve the finance of CBC. In 1995, you had a profit, and that was the last I knew. I don't know how many more they've had. So I'm saying these things are possible if you leave with proper direction and leave the people to do their jobs. But CBC, to get the full appreciation of CBC came at a time prior to December 1963. The only service we had in Barbados was a wired service. Started off in 1934, 1935 as radio distribution. Then it came Barbados with diffusion. Then it came now VOB, which is 90 years old this year. So you had a wired service, which truly did not broadcast. It only was restricted to the narrow few of people who could pay for the service. Like me, my family could not afford a rediffusion, so I would have to. I'd always like the news, and I'll have to make sure I'm close to somebody's house by news time to hear the broadcast. All right, that's how you did it. So in that way, it was broad, but really it was intended for a narrow cast to paid subscribers. CBC. So it meant also that unless you were rich or you could afford to have electricity and what they call a private radio, which was your own, you can plug in. You can get Radio Guardian, Radio Trinidad, Guyana, Vybz, the BBC on shortwave. You can get FRTS. You can get Voice of America. Otherwise, you were restricted in your listening to getting the news from abroad. But so it also meant that we could only hear other people and hear their voices, see their image. We were not projecting our own voice, our own image, our own accents, our own language, our own practical everyday culture, because we had no means of putting it. We could just put it in our own narrow circle through radio distribution, radio diffusion, and whatnot. So, but with the advent of CBC, it means that for the first time we were broadcasting to the world. You would hear what Barbados sounds like, hear what Barbados look like. You had visual image of Barbados in the same way you could do on other people's radio stations or television stations. So it opened up a brand new world. They gave Barbados a cultural image of the voice abroad. We used to get reports of Radio Barbados being picked up in Sweden and parts of South America. So people were hearing this all over. So for the first time, we had a voice. Apart from that, it also allowed us to be able to broadcast and publicize and share with the rest of the world our popular culture. We were busy taking all from North America, from Trinidad and Jamaica. So here we are now. And one of the groups I have to give them credit for that do a lot of work in that regard was the Merry Men. The Merry Men took our rhythmic music, our folk songs, the banjo, and took that we were taught was inferior to the North America or Europe, and they put it in song. And that gave Barbados its first strong musical image, and we had something that we could share with the rest of the world. I made us proud. Songs that we laughed at and said, "I took them banjo," especially the older folk. You know, for the first time hearing it on radio, where you were only hearing other white people or North America. Here was your on radio, singing by your own people. And after the other Barbadian groups got involved, and that was the upburst of Barbadian popular music. It's soul, eventually soul. You had tap, you had spoon. So that's what laid the groundwork for it. So a lot of good work, lot of good work was done with CBC. So but I'm saying that we are now, like I said, we don't know what's gonna happen at the CBC, right? Yeah. But I am saying that I am concerned because we could be deprived of what had been ours, so to speak, at CBC. But I am hearing story. Oh, what is the point that the IMF now has got its grips on CBC? Not got. It's triangle CBC for a long term because we're in the IMF hands. The government has been postponing having to deal with what the IMF calls the state-owned enterprises, what we call Barbados statutory boards, like CBC was a statutory board meant to provide a service to Barbados. But the developed world, the rich world, the free market economy does not believe in government getting involved. Everything should go in the hands of the private sector. So now we are at the IMF hands. They've been squeezing the government since 2018 to get rid of some of the states. That's why you see rural and development commissioners combined, BADC. So now it has kids, they cannot, the last report for 24 said that the government cannot put off anymore. And CB said they has become one of its casualties, where the government, they were not being allowed to what they call transfer, subsidize to keep the CB going to provide a public good. It's not a public good. Of course, we saw in CBC, you run it well to make it as commercial as possible, to be as efficient as possible, to make as much money as possible. It was not sell out to make money at all costs. It was a combination of to where the government, like the Queen of the Hospital, then you do the best to make as much, but you know there's a time when you might have to keep it because it's a public good. So the Prime Minister had promised that he said he would upgrade CBC to make it attractive to the public, and therefore, so he'll be able to sell it to shares, to the staff, to credit unions, to the public, so they can have some part or own some part of this indigenous creation that is theirs and part of their life. They can have a voice in it and part of ownership in it. And in that regard, at some point around 2003, it was. I think at the time around that time, when Minister Marty was in charge of broadcasting, the CBC was gifted $20 million. $20 million back. Imagine how much money that would be back in 2002, 2003, 2004. And with the objective of upgrading CBC to put it in a technical and attractive way that people will want to buy it, to invest in it, to be part ownership, right? Because at that time you were talking about the technology had not even evolved as much as it has now. We were talking about convergence, where broadcasting and things were broadcasting, they were all merging. We call it convergence. That was the popular phrase. Now we're into technological transformation and digitalization, but it's the same part of the process. But the thing after that, when the time of reckoning came, there was little or nothing to show of that $20 million as regards equipment, facilities, upgrading of studios and whatnot. Okay, it's still a mystery. I mean, if anybody wanted, it would be a good thing to investigate that one. What we had were reports of frequent flying by senior management. One person having 5 or 6 laptops. Right, you know, laptops in 20 years ago were very expensive. Exorbitant and over generous fees to consultants, including makeup artists, etc. Friends, family, and 40 cares at work in that. So I'm saying, what has happened to CBC now, where you had a cut staff, which taxpayers will have to pay for, That money is going to, as was passed in the House Assembly a few weeks ago, that will come out of taxpayers' money. We will have to finance that severance of the staff, etc. So I'm saying that could have been avoided if the mandate had been given had been fulfilled to make a track. We need not have gone that way. And it makes me wonder what will happen next. We will need to have a broadcasting service, one that government will have some input into, that they can get their programs on. As a matter of fact, we were so intent of making CBC attractive that the Prime Minister had to give instruction that rather than CBC have to give up its advertising to carry government program, wherever there was a government program or government department, the government department should pay for it as though it were an outside entity, so that CBC can make money. You don't have to depend on subsidy. So it is a sad thing what's happened to CBC. But what has me concerned as to what will happen next is that if you read slide 2 for me, I'm hearing talk.
Slide 2 now. Slide 2.
Right, slide 2 coming up. I'm hearing talk of Anthem XM Bank might be having interest in CBC, because CBC now is being reconfigured, it's being digitalized, whatever it's called it. So it will have to have some be an entity of some different form. Do not know if it's going to offer to the public for shares, like they did. People were asked make offers of express of interest on what they would do. But I'm hearing Affection Bank is supposed to be in the do, and I say that because I came across a story. It was around 2006. You have the slide 2 yet, Marcia? Have you got it yet? Hello? I think I'm not hearing you anymore, Marcia. I'm trying to find the slide 2 notes in my notes. Slide 2 says, I went online and did some research on CBC. I'm talking about, yeah, go ahead and read me the slide 2 if you can.
I think this is the one I just read, the
Right.
mandate.
No, okay. So, let me read. It says.
So you need the next one, which would be slide 2.
Slide 2, yes.
Okay. In August 2006, Chairman Son Wabo Fundi of the South African Broadcasting Corporation (SABC) reportedly held discussions with Barbadian government officials with the aim of forming a partnership or acquiring a stake in the CBC.
That is back in 2000. And since then, a lot has happened that has brought even more within the grasp and ambits and influence and finance of South Africa, which is, I think, is a shareholder in the bank. The bank is here with its generous. So I'm hearing stories that might be the next step to go. That the Affection Bank possibly therefore will not only have got our prime land free, but they be in a way to influence our image, our thoughts, our programming, government programming, what there. And I think we need to avoid. We cannot have so powerful an entity. This is almost a state within a state, with all the concessions and given to it, the obligations to it. That can operate almost within, and God, don't forget, it cannot be indemnified, it cannot be sued, prosecuted for a bereft of things. So if they are to get hold of CBC, as we right now, what we do not know what can happen to us. And I said that we must guard against that, because I remember once time, VOB wanted a television license when we were in government, and we said no, because we do not want VOB, which was owned, but VOB and the nation owned by the same people. Then to put a TV station in their hands would give a dominance in media, which was unhealthy for democracy and for the society. And we said no to that. So I'm hearing now that CBC is such a pickle. I understand that Sanka Price said that the CBC is being reconfigured in order to make it fit for a purpose. My question is, fit for whose purpose? And what will that purpose be? So I can't say that's a cliche phrase that everything is fit for a person. He talks about digitalization. Digitalization is only part of the technology. Digitalization is a technological process. It has nothing to do with content, professionalism, vision, creativity. It is just a means of transmitting and manipulating information faster. It's not being done by computers, rather be typewriters or handwriting. So there's nothing, we do not have to feel that we have made any leaps into the future for what we want to get from the CPC. Quality programming, like has been said in the act that set it up, both in the manner of programming and in the matter, meaning the content transmitted. So to say that we're going to be digitalized is not to impress anybody. It's just empty words which mean nothing. And apart from that, as part of this so-called digitalization process, there have been some staff changes, people resign, people got fired, etc. I understand some on the radio stations when they're reconfigured, who used to be the DJs are now going to be called, believe it is, Song, S-O-N-G Wizards. That's my infamous Song Wizards. The S-O-N-G W-I-Z-A-R-D-S, Song Wizards, rather than DJ or announcer. That is what I hear. But I mean, that's an embarrassment. A song wizard. What is it?
A song wizard?
A song wizard. That's why I'm told is coming up with discussions at CBC. And not only that, but the so-called song wizards are going to be hired at a much reduced salary. So I said maybe they thought a fancy word, a name or label might help salve the hurt ego by making less salary. A song wizard. So we have to wait and see what and it's most unfortunate because every society I know of has a station or means of communication where the government itself can have, under certain conditions, have its way, have its broadcast things said, and don't have to be at the mercies of the commercial sector. And I give a story that how the government printing came about. In the early days of the government of Premier Grant Adams, he had the government laws and documents used to be printed by the Advocate Commercial Company, and they had a dispute with the government, and they threatened to not produce things on time, tried to put pressure on the government. So he opened the government printing so that he would be at nobody's behest. So you need to have that flex, and the government printing has never once, yet failed the government being late, produced bad work. It's one of the Barbados' most successful government entities. Okay, so I'm saying that we do need to have a bona fide system, whatever you call it. There should be one way that we can sit back and watch and respect the professionalism of the work done by the workers. We like to get back to this. There was a time when CBC used to say it was committed. Where was it? Committed. They had a CBC, credible, balanced, and committed. Credible, balanced, and committed. And you couldn't ask for more out of a journalistic station or credible, balanced, and committed. I would like us to get back to this in some form or some fashion in an entity, but we do not know who will control the entity, whether the government, how much government will control it, or whether we are at the behest of the so-called free market, which means they're only interested in making profits and capitalizing on advertising, and with little given to the wishes and the obligations to the public, and giving them balanced and fair and biased information at the highest possible standards.
Yes. Well, this is some people have some questions here for you, Mr. Murray, because it's interesting. I learned quite a bit out of the presentation, about the South African Broadcasting Corporation. I didn't know about this. I feel like because I'm in media, I would love to sit down and listen to this segment again, probably tomorrow at another time. But Mr. Boyce is asking a question here, Mr. Murray. He says, Mr. Murray, I'm lost as your statement. A second TV station would have been bad for democracy, with reference to VOB wanting to have a TV license way back when. He's asking you to clarify that statement for him.
I'm sorry. I might have expressed it in a not clear and explicit enough manner. let me try to do better. Have with the same ownership controlling the nation as a newspaper, with the same ownership controlling VOB and the station as a or the radio broadcaster. We felt it would have been unwise and dangerous for democracy to put a TV station all under the same entity.
I could
It would have given
understand.
too much. So it's not the TV station, it is the monopolization, the dominance that will come about in the media. And let me also say one quick thing. So I want to say, one of the reasons why I'm concerned, I remember the days when we had only Channel 8, and then people were having satellite dishes. We had DirecTV, and TV was harassing CBC, but they call it Legislate TV, and they were promoting it. So the public was asking for more channels, and I was in charge, and I was tasked with finding a system that could give the public, satisfy this demand for more channels. So we put out feelers and asked people to express interest, and we got interest from several people. And I got an interest out of Jamaica. Jamaica people who had interest, and people and friends and family in high place in Barbados. And they wanted to ram down my throat. They were proposing an experimental station. I got phone calls, visits, messages that you must use this system. I was being pressured. The station was experimental. It had never been tried anywhere, not even in Jamaica. But it was supposed to give you access to ambulance services and for the fire service, the police. I said, no, that doesn't make sense. What it want, all the people at Barbados want, are more channels. So we went the way and said, what is now MCTV, which is what has kept CBC alive for many years, because it's the main source of revenue for CBC. So so I'm saying that pressure can be exerted on people to do things if I turned it down. I know the personal pressure and the harassment they got to try. So therefore when I'm hearing possibly coming out of Africa, and concerned the leeway, the latitude, the freeness that has already been given to the African Bank, I'm afraid of the possibilities of the further damage that could be done to Barbados.
Yes, I totally understand. So are you saying that Exim Bank, that they are going to be buying, it seems though that they're going to buy shares in CBC, or they're going to own CBC? What are we saying here?
All my information as it is at this stage is that they're supposed to have an interest in the entity that replaces CBC in its present configuration.
So they have an interest in CBC.
An interest in being involved. How far the interest will be, what kind, whether it be financial, I don't know, management, whatever. But then that's what made me go back and search for that one, the bank from South Africa. And you know me, no coincidences in my life at all. Sometimes always connected. So we have to be aware and be sensitive to what is coming our way in regards to CBC.
So this bank, I mean, we're going to, but you know, a lot of times we say things on here, and then later we hear it somewhere else. You know, it becomes confirmed, and we're asking a question: what kind of interest do they have in CBC? This is the Afrexim Bank. Somebody said where to call it. It's so hard to call. We have to call it another name. But the Afrexim Bank. Yes, seem to have an interest in CBC, audience. And the question is this something that you're comfortable with? Considering, as Mr. Murray is saying, that they are basically going to be operating like an embassy. They have all this immunity. Do you want them to be connected to the only television station in Barbados? Is that what is going to happen?
Well, right. We see, we are now operating the system. One time when I was talking about CBC and religion, we now have 15, 20 radio stations and online station in Barbados. So it's a whole different configuration. So that is the reason why. So it's a different mix. And the Afrexim Bank, what makes it so? What I really want to know is that CBC has survived on the well-being and with the support of the Barbadian public for 61 plus years. All right? The radio, almost CBC TV, be 61 this years. So I think that the government owes it to the people of Barbados, the taxpayers who were born and financed it all these years when it could not finance itself, to come and give a proper presentation to the public as to why we've done, where we are now, what we've done, how much it will cost, and what are the plans for the future. Because if you've laid off staff, several staff, rehiring staff, you must have some idea what you're doing next. I would hope so. Although some of the government behavior projects, as they go forward, pull back, step back, it lacks good, proper, clear thinking, clarity of certainty of purpose and clarity of outcome. So this might be why I'm saying it should not happen again. CBC is, and this I saw some in the press where with this digitization and you're going full digital, there's a possibility that Barbadians might be called upon to pay by a recorder or some piece of equipment to attach to their TVs to allow them to see Channel 8. I think that to do that would be a tax. I would see that you're taxing Barbadians to watch their own channel, and I think it should not be allowed. We should not go where Barbadians have to watch. It's the only free-to-air channel in Barbados. It's owned by the public of Barbados so far, and we should not be called upon to pay a tax to watch, not fee, a tax to watch our own. You'd be taxing yourself. It'd be like you're going home, I say, I'm paying to go in your own house. I think it's immoral, it's unethical, and it's unprincipled. We should not sell for that or any hit of that. But we should let Barbadians have access to their own images and songs in a way that will make them proud of themselves still.
So, Mr. As you mentioned the word tax there, you're saying, the citizens now, we pay tax for the state, is a state run. So we're it should be being, run by state dollars, by tax dollars, and we now have to pay again to watch it, right? So the question that comes to my mind, why wasn't this brought up in the budget? In when they were presenting all of that time in Parliament, would this have been something that needed? Because it seems to me, just by listening to you, that this is the IMF is requiring these all of this. They're going towards privatization, is what it seems to me. And I'm wondering, is this something? I'm asking the question. I don't know. Should this have come up in the budget?
Yeah, but just remember this government, ever since 2018, 19, I remember Professor Prasad, Dr. Prasad saying that they have always decided, remember we had a controversy about losing 2 pensions? Some people were getting, that was stopped by the IMF, that was not stopped by the Barbados government. That was a practice that the IMF said was too generous. You see what has happened in the United States with cutting the primary shadow, take away entitlements. That was too generous to rewarding for Barbadians or to do that. So they were looking for a chance. They are the one who stopped the 2 pensions and said you shall only get 1. Okay, so they are now saying that we should not be anywhere let our money go towards a broadcasting station. It should go to the private sector. Because when it goes to the private sector, of which they are part, the IMF is owned and run and dominated by the private sector who have shares in it. So it's in their interest to promote good things that would make the private sector sell their goods and services from them, from their own allies, from their cohorts in North America. So it keeps making money for it. So it's a revolving door. So they don't come and tell you out of objectivity, okay, we think that this is the best. What it always has to fit into their agenda of giving a reward, pay their loans, and giving recompense, earnings back to their shareholders and their investors. That is all it is. Nothing more. So all the talk, those are the bad. It all boils down. That's why they're only interested in growth, domestic product, economic growth. They don't say anything about development, quality of life, better health care. But I
was thinking, though, I mean, they seem to me that they have to cut cost in order, they're trying to meet the budget. So they're cutting all of this cost. And I'm saying I would have thought that would have to be said when you're giving the budget. Is what I'm saying? That you're going to...
But I'm sure they would have thought that might be too controversial.
That's why I brought it up.
You brought it. It was mentioned a week or 10 days ago in the House at the end of a session.
It wasn't in the budget because of what they were saying is that they announce, oh no, this is a nice sweet budget, no new taxes, no new anything. Nothing for you to be alarmed about. But then weeks later, you are now making people redundant. You are now saying that the citizens will now have to pay again after paying taxes to run CBC. The citizens have to pay again. And what are you trying to do? So you're basically trying to meet your budget is what you're trying to do. But you never told us anything. You never said it in the budget.
But I remember, I think it was passed towards the end of the financial year. They came do some supplementaries. So where you get extra money back in.
Okay.
And part of the supplementary was to pay for the severance at CBC. I remember here, I don't remember the figure, 5-6 million or whatever. I don't remember, but I heard it was just, it said quickly. It wasn't discussed, it was among the players and went on. So you never got to grasp the full significance of it, which is what you do. You do things late at night or you rush
Late
it
at
through
night.
with no attention.
Mr. Murray, this is why I just want to jump in here to say that, because we kind of gone on to the next segment, is to say that this is why we need strong opposition, Mr. Murray, inside Parliament, because these things, they would not slip like that. They would not go, they mention them and they're gone. And we only have Mr. Thorne there who's doing a fantastic job. But can you imagine if we had, say, even 12 persons in there, Mr. Murray, a lot of these things would have been brought out.
But Marcia, they don't need 12 persons. In 1986, when the DLP won 24 seats to the 3, Owen Arthur, Henry Ford, and David Simmons. And they ran the 24 dams into the ground. When they debated, the estimates, the three of them dominated, control, led them. The sheer volume and ability they exhibited was phenomenal. I don't think we have that quality intellect or debate in skills in the parliament because they don't get a chance to practice.
We even have a chance to show it. We see Mr. Thorne, and Mr. Thorne is doing an excellent job, but he's only one person.
I know. So you don't need, I'm saying you don't need 12, there's 2 or 3 more at that. And maybe that is what will, that 3 or 4 more of people of quality who are committed and they get the job done.
Yes. 2 or 3 more then of Mr. Thorne. But this is why people who, they say that I support, that I'm pushing DLP, but what they don't understand, Mr. Murray, I'm pushing democracy, because it is important for Mr. Thorne to be in there. If he didn't bring up, a lot of these things and make them clear to us, we would not on the outside here. He's in there making up a fuss, and then you go to listen what he's doing, and you realize, oh, wow, that's what they're planning to do. That's the work of the opposition, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
So is your other guests online already?
Well, actually, the guest that I had, Adrian HINDS, is supposed to be on tonight, but he sent me a message, sent his apologies this evening, that he wouldn't be on. But what we're going to do in this segment, I just want to discuss, you and I and the audience, and we could discuss the whole issue of how we treat victims. There is a very famous case that is in the media, and while we can only discuss according to what the lawyers tell me. I can read what the newspaper has put there, okay, about the case. That is what I'm able to do. I'm not able to go into any details of which I don't even know. But what I want to do is to talk about victim shaming. And there is an article that came out in The Nation that I was trying to put my hand on before the show starts. Not having my personal Facebook page is a little challenging for me. So if anybody has that article and can send it to me. But I wanted to look at how The Nation in particular treated this particular issue that was having in the court, and it is the rape allegation against MP Neil Rowe, and where the other MP or the minister said that the young, it's reported in the newspaper. The report in the newspaper said that the young lady reported to him the alleged offense. Now, what the Nation did, Mr. Murray, I watched what they did online. They they put an article out first, and the article would seem to not favor the victim. Okay, this is what I read into it, and so the comments started to call the person all kinds of names. This is the victim, the alleged victim.
The alleged, yeah.
Yeah, started to call this alleged victim lots of names and so on. And it was just, I mean, women were doing it, and I mean, the case is going on. We don't know the details of the case. And I saw what they were doing, and I thought to myself, "Whoa, is this responsible? Is this what they're supposed to do?" And the comments were there. However, when they put, Dave, if you could, I think Dave might have that one. I hope that when they put later in the evening, there was now an article with Honorable Wilfred Abrams, saying that the alleged victim told him about the alleged action. I have to use alleged, right? Right. Thank you, Dave. Now, when this was put up, is this a Nation? I think this is the other one.
No, I think that's a Nation.
Right, but there is one that the first one that they put up. You know what they did? They turned off the comments. The comment sections was turned off, Mr. Murray. See, if
this is on social media.
On social media. So if you're not looking deep enough, you don't see what's going on. Right? The media. You were talking about CBC. I'm talking about the Nation now. No, the Nation, to me, in my opinion, from what I see, it appears as though the Nation is allowing itself to be used by someone.
Appears, but that is so well established to become almost the norm. The Nation, the upper management and control of the Nation is so much intertwined with the leadership of this government. That's unbelievable. So therefore, do not be surprised. You remember a few months ago, that story about Maria Bradshaw, about the Auditor General's report. When she brought a story, said there was a draft report. I remember the Nation did something which I was horrified. Normally, in my day, the principles and practice of those days, that if you have a story, you carry it by itself with the source, quoting the source, etc. And if you have a refutation, if somebody's going to refute it and disagree and challenge it, the challenger should also be identified. They carry a story by Maria Bradshaw quoting the Auditor General's report, which said was not official, but that is very technical. But they did not challenge the authenticity of the contents of the report. All they said was a draft. It was not complete. Okay. And then they carry a story of a source, an anonymous source criticizing that report. I mean, how can you quote an Auditor General in a report? And then I would not think that the Nation can ever sink so low journalistically. But all the principles of fairness and that you can say an anonymous source from government criticizing the Auditor General's report. And I am told that so much pressure was brought on the Nation to carry it that way. So much pressure was brought on Maria Bradshaw for her story. It was unbelievable. So that kind of pressure, and I know as a reporter, I too would have covered stories in courts or written for the newspaper.
Yeah.
And our own instruction was just that if you were the House of Assembly to send, faithfully report as fully as possible your proceedings. You don't make any editorial judgments.
Yeah.
But it seems to me what you are recounting, what you're calling about, is that people made judgments and try to concrete other parts of the story by tailoring it and coloring it to suit other purpose. To me, it's unethical,
Yeah.
unprincipled, and it's wrong and should not be. And the nation should be ashamed of itself.
Yeah, but what I'm seeing here, because I have it on my phone here, where the Nation newspaper, the report that could have been not in favor, could have seen not in favor of the alleged victim, Mr.
Right.
Murray, they left the comments on for people to drag this person on social
Okay.
media. I could not believe it. And I asked myself, you have people from women's group that come on here and they tell me all kinds of things on the night when the night comes. I don't see the women's group speaking out about this. Why was that allowed to happen? Not even when it continued throughout the day, they didn't go and turn it off. They kept the comment section on when it had to do with the alleged victim, for people to call the alleged victim all kinds of names that I would not repeat on this program. Yeah. However, when they had the picture of of Wilfred Abrams, it appears that they are protecting. I have to ask the question as a reader: are you protecting the BLP? The Nation newspaper, I'm asking the question. Is it that you're protecting the image of the BLP and you did not want the comments from the from the viewers speaking about Wilfred Abrams saying that the alleged victim told him about the alleged incident? And I can only ask the question, and I'm saying, where are the women's groups? We heard, Mr. Martin, that's a problem that we have in this country, where the women's groups choose what they want to make an issue about.
I think the women's group that we know of are very sophisticated, well established, high profile, and they're not in the trenches fighting for any issues. They go to functions, they have conferences, cocktail reception, they speak, but they're not in the day-to-day nitty-gritty. None of fighting for on behalf of people. Maybe you think those battles are always been won, but the poor and the needy are always with us. They're always being replenished. So there's always work to do in that capacity. But they seem to have gotten that off, and they've gone on to other more sophisticated, glamorous activity. But I'm saying that even the nation, I understand. I've never participated in Facebook, whatever, that aspect of social media. But I would have thought that the nation, as a news entity, even though obviously it would want to participate in social media to keep itself relevant and attract readers and follow them, they would still have certain basic journalistic principles that would not be followed by the average person who's writing on Facebook or Instagram. That those principles should, as long as it says the nation, those interests should be applied to whatever they do, and that they should not take sides like the way you've described seems to have happened.
Right, seems to have happened, because I could only say seems to have happened. But as a reader, I was appalled at the comments that were put underneath the first Nation article, and I'm hoping somebody could find it. The very first one that came out on April, I think it's just before the date. If Dave goes up here, I'll get the date of this particular article. Okay, so this one was April 11th. And so this would have been the article that came out just before this one. Okay. And it is, I can't believe that we don't hear the all of these women's group that were there joining with America with the Me Too and all of that. Where are they? Where are they? Who, I don't understand. And when I thought also, Mr. Murray, I hope they'll be able to find the article so I can show it to you. But when I think of the news item that came on Starcom Radio, I don't know if you heard that item. And this is about the women's cricket team. where the young underage girls were saying that they were being molested
and harassed,
right, sexually abused by other female cricketers. We heard no outcry from the women's groups. And so my question tonight is, what about the victims? This has come on national radio. We did not hear one a comment from a minister of government. No social organization spoke out about it. The little girls were being harassed by women.
As Beatrice said, by big hardback women.
Big hardback women molesting little girls in this country. And not a word. Victims, the way we treat women, the way we treat children in this country, the abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, and nothing is done of it. Absolutely nothing. And it's hypocritical, as I said earlier, for the Prime Minister to talk about lyrics that are denigrating women and Lil Rick and all of these people with the Trojan rhythm. But these situations where Mr. Murray, the thing with the cricket is that you had not just the victims, the children, the young girls who were speaking out, but you also had those who were in leadership positions. The woman who was speaking out was in leadership position. And you're going to tell me that there's no investigation? We are going to just throw the rug over it and continue?
Your protestations about the silence of the government, the Prime Minister, made me recall there used to be a one time it was said that when the Prime Minister was in opposition, she used to be accused, it was alleged that she never once led a motion, proposed a bill, she never once led the fight for women's rights in any regard, or women's issues. I don't know if you recall hearing that. They were saying that her opponents in the DLP used to throw that in her face all the time. Yes. You've never yet once led a charge, led against a for. You've always stay out of that. That is an interesting, that if it is true, that is an interesting situation. That might therefore help to explain a lot of what we are seeing or not seeing or not hearing today. Then.
Yeah, that's quite telling. Telling.
So we have a lot. We have as the thing about the nation was so disappointing. Maybe the nation is so caught up in the social media frenzy, because when you want likes and followers and hits, that they would do anything or allow anything just to be interested in numbers. That is not the role of a genuine bona fide publication. You have to have standards, you have to have limits. You only allow people to go so far to protect the integrity of the process of your profession. Otherwise, you're pandering to the lowest common denominator. And all you're doing is devaluing society, lowering the values and standards of the ordinary people in the society, community standards. If they say it in the newspaper, therefore it must be right to do or say it. That's how some people say it. If you hear on radio in a particular way, sorry. And so it is. So these people don't understand. They do not live in a vacuum. They live in a society where all aspects of society impact, interact, learn from, copy, whatever with each other. It's all interrelated, and therefore they have a responsibility to protect the whole environment, the whole system, by looking out for each other's interests. Because today, it's for me, tomorrow it's for you.
Yeah. As somebody says here that we are sometimes cruel to each other, and that's the point, Kimte. That's the point. I've been meditating on it a lot, and how we treat each other, how we treat children, how we treat women and children in this country. How do we think women are going to feel? Are they going to want to come out to say that they were molested, that they were that they were harassed and they were assaulted, they were sexually assaulted? Are they going to want to come out to do that? Our children, I just saw something on a video here on another YouTuber channel, another podcast. I won't call the name of the podcast, where a gentleman was giving his story of how he was abused in the children's home. And apparently that's the regular thing here. But you know what? Nobody investigates it. He will put something out like that, and we don't have any services to investigate that. Does that happen really in the children's homes? Is that really what is? So I remember the same Wilfred Abrams when he came out and twice said that the report, they did a review of the GIS. You remember that? And said
Right.
that there was no abuse. But later, but after he was pressed, by the third time he came back and said, "Oh, there was abuse," and shut down the whole of GIS, but only because the public put the pressure on Wilfred Abrams. And I'm saying we need to call the loyal opposition. We need to call for an investigation into the cricket, into the cricket team, the women's cricket team, because we need to know: is this what is happening there? You can't have something like this being reported and it just swept under the carpet and left.
But particularly at a time in an era when you're encouraging more and more females to get involved in sports and games at all levels, as careers, as professions, etc. So if you're doing that, you should have a duty of care to them, to make sure that their conditions are the best possible for them. You do not throw them to the wolves, I mean literally and figuratively, in these sporting and game situations, to fend for themselves. It's wrong. It's immoral. It's not going to. But if you were talking about the reaction of people in social media, one of the most perverse and disappointing things about Barbados society is that people take delight in cutting down each other. They delight in having something to say negative about a person. If they don't have it, sometimes they make it up. If it happens, they will add to it and embellish it and whatnot. So there must always be somebody to drag down somebody. Maybe in some way they feel by dragging down or it elevates them. But all it does is reduce their worth and their value as a human being by delighting in the misfortunes, perceived or real, of others, especially when nobody has any control over their future and they don't know what fate might befall them today, tomorrow, next year, or their friends or family.
Yes. And somebody's saying here, that it's a West Indies team. And I know I'm not a Barbadian team, but we have Barbadian members on the team. And some of the abuse that we have heard of, and we know people that have girl children that are waiting to get on the team and are so worried. So it affects us all, Michael Nurse. And that's the thing about it. We are CARICOM, and
you're frozen, Marcia.
Yes, I'm back on. Right. Okay. And so it's the head of CARICOM at the moment. And so this is something that we should lead the way in it.
The Barbados Cricket Association is a member of the West Indies Cricket Board, West Indies Cricket. So there's nothing to stop the Barbados Cricket Association from approaching, writing, pressing the West Indies Cricket for information or an investigation, for a report on these allegations and what has been done about it and what is being done to prevent from happening again. There's nothing to stop the Barbados Cricket Association from doing it. So we do not have to be. So if they want to, but like you said, it might be whole. Maybe nobody's bothered about these things anymore, or maybe it has become such a norm that it no longer has any impact on them.
You know what it is, to Mr. Murray? If we were told that there were men on the West Indies women's cricket team, not on the team, but men who are working on the team were molesting these girls, this place would be turned upside down. That's the kind of hypocrisy I'm talking about. If we were told, Mr. Murray, that the groundsmen and so on and all these people were giving these young ladies a hard time and they felt harassed, Imagine we would turn the tables upside down. We all these women's groups would get, but because it's women molesting women, everybody, we have more women in power in places of of leadership. It is said, that's what is said, you know, in Barbados. I've seen that somewhere. That's what it said. It's they're saying Barbados is so progressive. So where are those women now?
But women need leadership. All groups need leadership at one time or another. Maybe so. The leadership is not coming. It's not being. These issues are not being vetted out of the group, and it's not being vetted out of other leadership persons and positions in the society. Or maybe same-sex relations have become such a norm for people to know that anything goes.
But even if it is a norm, you should not prey on people. You should not. It's the same thing. If you are so livid, if you could be so livid and it's so, and you go to all you know, the limits, so that that men don't sexually abuse women or harass women. Why should all the big hardback women harass young girls? Why? And should that be normal?
It'd be interesting to hear the comments from Minister Charles Griffer, Minister of Sport, about community development and that. But those are not things that you heard them speak on. You heard a lot of
hear his voice. I forget all about him.
Yeah. I made some comments to him about already. I understand he didn't like them very much, but he's still very much a community development officer. He has not risen to the status yet and the stature or performance of what you would expect. Certainly, by my experience, my reading, my understanding of ministerial involvement and development, still hasn't reached. And he's not alone in that regard. They're still just going through the motions. And talk about leadership. If everybody sees this, I got a report that talking about young leaders. Minister Chad,
I see Miss McCLEAN there, just so you know. She has to give me a thumbs up if she's ready.
Yeah, I made this last comment. Minister Chad Blackman, I am told, I'd like him to tell me, I'm told that there's a report that he would know very well of an instance where a senior official, in fact, he himself visited a rural school in Barbados, as they like to say, a rural school, which complaints were made about the inadequacy of the bathroom facilities for staff. In other words, they have 2 bathroom cubicles for staff. It's sometimes numbers as much as 32. 32. All right? And when they was drawn to the Minister of Sports, they were making tours. Went to school. When it was drawn to his attention by the principal, his response was, as I'm told, I challenge you to find an immediate solution to this problem. I challenge you to find an immediate solution to the problem. Nonsense. Plant and equipment is not the purview of the principal. But I challenge, and these ministers like to challenge people to solve problems for them and their ministry. Not only that, I'm also at that same school. A senior member of the staff leaves the school every day before 3 o'clock to go and pick up her grandchild from a secondary school. So she's never there to see the end of the school to make sure the buses come to collect the children every day before 3 o'clock. And that is all part of our educational transformation. I would like to hear Minister Blackman's views on that, and let me know if I'm wrong. I'd be glad to correct my source, but my source term is impeccable and told me they were at the meeting.
Well, you know what? They listen to this show, and we're hoping that they will listen and give some answer to what you just asked and to what I'm asking as well. Are young women safe at in the West Indies cricket team? Are they safe? Are Barbadian women safe? Are young women safe? Why aren't we hearing anything about that? I think that these are some of the things that we need to be looking at. But I see Ms. McCLEAN is already here.
Let me make sure you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can. I
Yes, we
can
can.
hear you. I can hear you
Good
loud
night.
and clear. Thank God.
Good night. Good
Glad,
night,
good night,
Maxine.
good
Good
night.
night.
Good to
Good
hear
night.
both of you.
Thank you.
I've been following. Before, I just wanted, I saw a comment there about feminism being poison. I cannot agree with CB or CB. That the failure to address this is not a question of people being feminist. People label people who don't even understand the issues of feminism. I don't equate the two things at all. What I am concerned about is that, as you said, there's a hypocrisy. We talk about women's representation, and if you look at this country, from the head of state, the head of government, the deputy prime minister, leader of government business in the Senate, and I can go through and they talk about numbers don't equate to conscious view. And I've made that point. I made it very strongly in the Parliamentary Reform Commission. As far as I'm concerned, whether we have seen it where we've had limited female presence in terms of numbers, but the test for me is how we deal with the issues, the policies, the programs, and all of these things that are done. I've heard that story, and I remember trying to get through on the radio to speak about it, and I didn't get through. But I noted very carefully that there was silence. There was probably one voice I think I heard. It might have been Marsha Hines calling to brass tacks to speak about it, if I remember correctly. But then again, you have, I remember when we debated the Domestic Violence Act, the Prime Minister, as she was leading the opposition, then did not participate in that debate. And I would have expected every female to have a strong voice on these issues.
What you mean when you were in? That's what Mr.
That's
Morris was.
when I was in the Senate.
And what was that act about? Can you? I know it's not.
It was domestic violence. Speaking
Domestic.
about domestic violence, you can go and look at the transcript and see the comments of people. You know, but that is again part of the contradiction. And I see you've got my title that I shared with you this evening. And I suppose because it's something I want to connect with what GLYNE said. And if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I did a presentation, and the presentation was the sugar industry debacle of betrayal of the people. Mm-hmm. And I touched on it then, but I think it is absolutely necessary in the context of all that. I was listening to what GLYNE was saying, and we went back to the issue of CBC being privatized. And while I hope Dave was able to pick up some articles, but while he searches for the articles, I just want to read an extract from the budgetary proposals and financial statement 2022 delivered by Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Economic Affairs and Investment, Amor Montley. And it said that the government would then have to provide budget, this for something, that was it. This is where it is further. They were talking about divestment. Further, sir, the Grantley Adams International Airport, which was one of the few entities with a solid balance sheet and did not require systemic reforms like some others, the pandemic having caused the cessation of travel meant the government of Barbados had to provide direct financial resources to the airport due to COVID-19. This is a reflection of the extraordinary times we are living in, Mr. Speaker. Even though we are not yet fully past the pandemic, sir, and this is the important part I'm coming to, we must recommence with haste the reform agenda, as this will assist the government and the economy to be better positioned coming out of the pandemic. And this is what I highlighted. The following state-owned enterprises will be addressed this year being 2022. Within agriculture, the Barbados Agricultural Management Company, the Barbados Agricultural Development and Marketing Corporation, Barbados Agricultural Credit Trust. And it goes on to talk about the National Housing Corporation, the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation, Urban Development Commission, and the Rural Development Commission would also be addressed this year. So back in 2022, in the budget, it was promised that they were going to deal with all of these. The Transport Board will transition into Mass Transit Authority to improve the delivery of transport services. Now, it is against the background of a promise in the budget in 2022 that the government made a commitment to deal with BAMC, BADMC as well. And you will remember the discussions that we had about the sugar industry. Now, while they said they were supposed to do that in 2022, in 2024, close to December, there was a, not 24, sorry, 2023, there was a mad rush to divest itself of the BADMC. And we would have heard presentations from Colonel Trevor Brown. And as I would have mentioned in a previous discussion of this, as a cooperator of 40 years, myself, 41, active involvement in the credit union movement for 40 years, and by extension, the cooperative movement. I had a lot of confidence in the vision that Colonel Brown and others had for cooperative ownership. And let me say that, because in the 80s, these were the people who were at the heart of moving credit unions on the ground. They were volunteers. I worked along as a much younger woman alongside these gentlemen and a few ladies and so on, who would have been very pivotal in moving the movement forward. Now, the vision for this was, and I am a member of the co-op that was supposed to invest in this. So I've had access to information as a member at an annual general meetings, because there are two that I attended where these were discussed. And the idea was, when they saw the opportunity, because government had signaled that it was going to divest. Now, in discussing this across, with people in the industry and so on, as you know, Marcy, you hear things, people tell you things. So while we do not have definitive information to say, yes, I will ask the question. And I will ask the question of the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Finance and the Minister in the Ministry of Finance, if at any time some entity offered to pay the government $1 for the sugar industry. Now, you're an accountant, Marcy, so you know that if I pay you $1, I am saying perhaps I'm taking on some liabilities.
Correct.
But the question is, if that is the case, if it was possibly considered, and it's not that, what were the other considerations? But I can tell you that these persons who saw this as an opportunity, one of the few opportunities that realistically could create what the people like to talk about, people's empowerment and finance and economic enfranchisement, that this was one possibility. And I think the government, well, I would also say this, that in all of the discussions, and if y'all might recall, on one of these programs, I asked, and I will ask again now, where is the voice of the Minister of Finance and Prime Minister of this country, Prime Minister Mia Mottley, on this issue? Because what has happened, we heard a lot about promises. Government proposed a number of things. For example, they proposed to sell it, of course, and then they made a commitment to giving a percentage. I think it's about 20%. The numbers, I would have to look through my notes again. They made a commitment to making sugar workers, past and present, as shareholders. In addition to that, at the end of the day, the government committed that it was going to hold on to 25%. Now, of course, with as a single shareholder, 25%, I presume you would want a seat on the board, etc. But the important thing, Marcy, is this, because I remember I got into this discussion and I got interested once I heard the initial presentations and exchanges with Colonel Brown and Dr. Clyde Maskell and so on call-in program. And I actually called to establish some things. Now, the idea was that because initially people had the impression that credit unions as institutions were going to invest, and they may be able to do so in limited terms. So you had the credit unions, and I made this point and I sold it to the members of the co-op, that it made more sense to try to attract the over 100,000 members of the movement, because any fraction of that would be a significant pool of investors. And they agreed with me that credit unions as institutions are constrained by the law. And therefore, while they may be able to invest, they may not necessarily be able to invest fully. Whatever the case, whether they went to credit unions as institutions, as institutional investors, or whether they came to individuals like yourself and myself and GLYNE, assuming that we are all members of a credit union, for example. Anybody with, and I'll use an expression a late teacher of mine I always used to say, anybody with a grain of brain and an ounce of common sense would understand that if you come to me to say to me, Maxine, I think this is a good idea, I think it's something you would want to invest in. The first thing I'm going to ask is, show me some numbers. Show me your analysis. You know, what analysis have you been able to do? What's the true picture that you are painting? And in order to paint the true picture, this credit union, this cooperative, would have to go to credit unions and say, now BMC was a lost case for many years, but I want to say to Mr. Gardner, I'm trying not to get distracted, I'll come back to comments later, is to say that the agricultural sector of which Sugar Up is a part and which BAMC has a control is bigger than the BAMC. The opportunities in agriculture anchored in sugarcane and sugarcane production is bigger than the BAMC. And so I see that. So I would want to say, with all due respect, M. Gardner, while the BAMC might have been problematic for many years, we are talking about a sugar industry which brought us here, because to in large measure, my ancestors came here. By the time they started to play cane, they went and they needed labor. They went to Africa and brought my ancestors. And for, I don't know who your ancestors are, Gardner, but that's one. But I don't want to get distracted. The point I'm making is that here was an opportunity where government said we have to divest, where government says, this government and other governments have said it, we believe in enfranchisement, there must be a way. Where government says that there's no poor, this I remember, and we can go back and look for it, when one of the present administration was speaking at something on the West Coast in tourism and show them a Bajan who could build a hotel or something to that. The point I'm making is that small shareholders pooling their resources are able to do two things. They're able to minimize their risk in a venture, but they are also able to share in something which, when fleshed out, can have significant potential. So let's look at the article here, Dave, in terms of this. So all of this was supposed to happen. We went through, okay, pause there. We went through 1 year of the industry, remember, and government made certain kinds of commitments. And the co-op was supposed to invest, I think in the article, they will talk about $16 million. But let me read this and I'll come back. So this is the status of the industry at the moment. It says, mere weeks into 2025 sugarcane harvest, uncertainty prevails over the true ownership of Barbados' sugar industry. Barbados today can reveal exclusively. Co-op Energy insisted that the government still controls the industry, but the government maintained that Co-op Energy is in charge, despite failing to meet its end of the divestment bargain. Let me stick a pin right there and come to, according to Lieutenant Colonel Trevor Brown, head of the Barbados Sustainable Energy Cooperative Society Limited, Co-op Energy, the transition of the sugar industry from the state-owned Barbados Agricultural Management Corporation, BAMC, to Co-op Energy remains incomplete, despite earlier claims suggesting otherwise. The BAMC is still running it. They have not handed it over to us, Lieutenant Colonel Brown told the Barbados Today on Tuesday, stating that Co-op Energy had received no formal communication from the government about the transfer of assets. We asked them and written to them. They haven't even responded yet. and I do not have any army that can go in and take over. Now, the question, and notice what is said here. They have not handed over. The question they have written. Now, I can tell you that as a member of the co-op, certain information has been shared with me, and I therefore will ask the question of the Minister of Agriculture and, more importantly, the Prime Minister. In terms of this whole arrangement, first of all, please confirm, and I know that it exists, please confirm that the government signed an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, which set out a process for this divestment exercise. Now, having set out that transfer process, a critical part of that would have to be the supply of information to the cooperative to do exactly what I said. You cannot come to prospective investors. You can give them an idea, but if you want to really engage them and look for positive support, first of all, you have to have information to do your due diligence. So, for example, the government has assets under its control, or sugar assets in the sugar industry. What is the value of those assets? How do I determine that? Have you given us information so that we can then sit down with our finance people and say, okay, this is government's valuation, but we are bringing in a third party, independent persons, to say to us, do these numbers make sense? Are they too low? Are they're just right? Do they, are they overvalued? Whatever the case, do we need to make adjustments here, make adjustments there, so that you can paint a proper financial picture of the company that you're looking to invest in? Because it is only when you do that you can then really develop a sound plan to take the industry forward. How do you finance it? What do we have to work with? And so in all that I've seen there, the comments coming from Minister of Agriculture, I asked the basic question. Why, if it is true, have you not, and I say the minister's hands may be tied, I don't know, because as we know all the time, every time a minister opens his or her mouth, they make reference to the Prime Minister. But of course, when you're talking about finances and so on, I can hazard a guess that this is not something that falls strictly under the purview of the Ministry of Agriculture. It has to involve the Ministry of Finance, etc. It has to go to cabinet. So my question is, why is it that this information has not been provided? Why is it that according to the chairman of the company, the co-op, the president of the co-op, and the chairman, because the co-op set up two companies, and I've gone into them before, and people can go and revisit that information. Why is it that they cannot get responses from government requests to meet? And Marcia, I will say this, and GLYNE, when this matter first came and there were questions about waiting on government, this is what I said. And I rushed home from a function at church. I didn't even wait till Marcia to come to make sure I was here to do this. So I ain't lying. I was in church twice today. I said to people, you know what? I query the silence of the Minister of Finance on these matters. And I said to somebody, I will hate to see what I consider the equivalent to what I saw and my fears in relation to that Paradise Beach property when my first day of passing that demolition, and I saw what I call was a ball patch in Black Rock, my neighborhood, where I was born and raised and so on, on which I pass almost every day once I'm on the Spring Garden Highway. And I saw it then, and I had a fear that we were not going to see that to fruition in any hurry. That was back in 2005 or 6 or whatever, when the demolition took place. When I heard about this, and I heard some of the quote unquote hiccups, as I would describe them, I said to people, I hope that what we are not seeing is a situation where at the last minute, and we're into 2025 now, so I consider this getting into the last minutes, that we hear, well, you know what? We really wanted to give this to the people, but the people did not deliver. And I say to those people, this is one of the last bastions of opportunity. Agriculture is not easy, but we know that sugarcane production, there are profitable elements to that. And that's why I said to the individual, I think it was Mr. Gardner, I don't know if it's a Mr. MC Gardner or whatever it was, that the BAMC might have been problematic, but I can tell you that work has been done as the people who are looking to this and going along, because really and truly what you had was a situation where things were rushed because government had to meet its obligations to the IMF. And so by the end of 2023, they had to show that they had divested, supposedly. But here it is, you're talking about divestment, you're fighting up with a cooperative that you have not, from all that I have heard, and if I'm wrong, let the minister, let Dr. Clyde Maskell, as chairman of the BAMC, I believe he is or was, when a lot of this was happening. If he isn't anymore, I don't know. I would have to verify. I didn't have time to check today to verify whether he still is. Let them come and tell me that they have been fully upfront and timely, which I know they have not been timely because people waiting for information more than a year later, in delivering the kind of information that any reasonable, sensible, responsible director or decision maker would need to do the proper due diligence on an exercise which is supposed to allow them to go and sell to the members of the co-op movement and to Barbadians, Jerry, and even to the sugar workers. This is what we're working with. These are the kinds of resources that we will need, because this is the value of our assets. This is our plan. But you cannot plan in any sensible way, unless you have this information. So don't play games with us people. And on the one hand, you are rolling out the red carpet, gain the whole caboodle to foreign investors. But you're going to come to fight up with Barbadians saying that they must give you $16 million on a promise that so far there's little evidence to suggest to me that you have kept your side of the bargain. And so Marcia and GLYNE and listeners, I ask the question. This is a situation where the government's silence is deafening. And I will pause there and we can, I would like to hear the reactions, but most important, I await government's response.
Yes.
As it says here, from sweet promise to sour reality.
Yes.
That's another article.
Well, thank you, Ms. McCLEAN. Thank you very much. And as you know, this is something that we've been doing this topic for a while, and it's important. Repetition is key. Because we need to get the point home to everybody. The lines are open, guys. It's your line. We've dedicated this time for your feedback. We want to hear from you, questions, whether it is on the sugar industry and this situation that specifically that Ms. McCLEAN is dealing with. Is it that it's too good for us? It's too sweet for us, not for the people, for other people. Or you want to talk about CBC? Is there anything that Mr. Murray said that you want to ask him a question on, or you might have a further point on? Do you want to talk about the Vybz Kartel show and the hypocrisy of the Prime Minister in particular, who said that the local artists, that it was very wrong of them to sing vulgar lyrics about violence, and she demanded an apology from our local artists. What do you have something to say about that? You want to talk about victims and how we treat victims in this country, victim shaming and the abuse of children and women. All these topics were discussed tonight. So the lines are the line, not lines, the line is at this time, Mr. Murray. The
Yeah.
line at this time is and you can call in. Yes, Mr. Murray, you're
Yeah,
coming.
I want to say that Maxine made a good point, an exceptionally good point at the end about the lack of communication and response. I find it absolutely amazing as a journalist. I still consider myself to be that a Minister of Agriculture, Minister Ware, and Mr. Colonel Brown could be at cross purposes like that. Colonel Brown makes a statement in the press. The minister comes up, and there's no movement. I would think any minister that I know of who worth his salt would have sought to put this to bed and ready to prove that Mr. Brown wrong and he is right. Because it's his credibility of him and the government at stake, and all he has to do is open himself to a good old-fashioned press conference.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hide behind some comment on the airways to record and share it on TV already, play on radio or play the press. Come on, open yourself to challenges on statements made and further finish so we can get a proper and Colonel Brown should do the same thing too. They cannot be just at cross purposes and standoffness going nowhere. It does the country and the industry no good. I myself feel I have no apologies to make about subsidizing sugar or any part of agriculture because everywhere it's in the world, with major economies and major agricultural sectors, they are subsidized in one form, and that is common. So we don't have to apologize to BAMC or any other entity in agriculture needing support. That is understood. The weather alone, the vagaries of the weather alone, can ruin perfectly well planted crops, etc. So we have to take those into consideration. But I think that is long overdue. I'm tired in 1 week this thing, and I mean, it's been going on for months now, and no progress has made. They're not
Yeah.
doing themselves or the country any good.
Yes, I think thank you, Mr. Murray. Thank you so much. I think we have a caller. Good night, caller.
Good night. This is Victor Anthony Perryman Young.
Good night, Mr. Young.
How-
It's always
How are you doing?
we are well, and guess what? Your favorite person is on tonight, Miss McClean.
Who's
Good night, Mr. Young. How are you, sir?
How is Miss McClean, my little sister?
I am fine. I am fine. I'm very fine. Thank you very much. I'm happy to hear you. How are
My
you?
little black rock girl, brilliant little black rock girl. I am a black rock boy too. You say you want to know something about CBC?
Yes.
What do you expect to know about CBC? CBC will cut me off all the time because CBC got a bunch of peacocks up there. They can't say anything against the government. We don't have, you said about Vybz Kartel coming? Man, we can love the money that we can make. We ain't got the morals. You know, you could come, you know, Christmas morning, you could have come to and come into the church and sing with you and sing. You also the church people ain't coming out much and doing nothing either. And you talk about the things with the young people getting molested. Well, I'm going to tell you something, they got some people up in the hierarchy there that is females that don't them to them, you know. And then a little poor girl that don't them to them, and they don't to them so that they can keep the little pig. If they don't let them do it to them, they won't have a pig. We ain't got no morals at all. There are all the morals gone through the back door. No morals at all. And if the leaders are the morals, they expect the people who depend on them and the brainwash, you expect them to got more young here. The women organizations and things coming up, whatnot and so. Them sophisticated, them will do it for sophisticated real people.
You know, but that is sad. That is sad, yeah.
I can hit my gym and do my training because you know on the 9th of June, I got to to be out there showing off those bodysuits and
All right.
up and down, okay?
All right.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna wear a bodysuit, a full bodysuit.
That's what I run in, bodysuit.
That's why he runs in all the time.
Oh wow. So I'm
That's what I'm telling you. I
glad.
wear the bodysuits all the time.
Oh, and you are 87.
Yes, I've just gone past 87. 87 in 6 months.
Almost 88. Wow. When I
Wow.
grow up, I want to be like you.
So you will see me out there, God spare my life, and He gave me that energy. I'll be prancing up there on that track. Let them get jealous. But CBC won't do anything with me because they are canteen lovers, so they get very big, you see?
Yeah.
So they don't like that. So they tell me that I criticize the government and I criticize the ministers. So I let them know that I can criticize anybody. But what happened is they got a fella up there that used to lambaste the government when he was on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But he's all for it now because he's getting the perks, he's getting the big extra money for the cars and drive boats and things, you see?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see.
And the people that they got there, they don't want to pay them.
Mm-hmm.
And but them people in the know they can get paid sometimes in the month.
Mm.
But he's driving that big car and getting big canteen food. And you see that too in the community?
Mm-hmm.
God is fattening them out a little more.
Mm. I
Are
see.
gone.
All right. All right.
Good evening.
And
Happy
all the best.
trading.
Thank you.
All the best in your races. I hope to come to see you run.
Yes, you will have to come and see me. And you would see me in the outfit so you would know it is Victor Young.
Yes, I will come and see you in your bodysuit. Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Okay, Victor. I can't wait, Victor. All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. This is Mr. Victor. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. Listen. This is Mr. Young here, and he's gonna be in his bodysuit at 87. You know, we've got to go see Mr. Young. Run in his bodysuit, and so. But the poor Mr. Young, he called in at CBC and they cut him off. They said, not you. You criticize
Oh dear.
They
What
tell
a
him,
shame.
they said, not you. They cut him off. Then he said, what did I do? They said, you criticize the government and you criticize the ministers, and you can't talk on here. So poor
Marcia, I just noticed something. Quite a little ago, myself, Maxine, you were all wearing black tonight.
Yeah, this is black
yes,
and a
that's
kind of
true.
goldish. Yes.
Oh, without discussing it, mine really was in mourning for CBC.
Oh,
That's why.
I will join you.
Thank you. So I just realized that we are all in the same
Mine
mind.
is a cream and white, so I
Okay.
will join you in morning. No, but it's
Okay.
a serious thing, you know. CBC as a public station has a role that it should be playing.
Yeah.
But Marcia, while you wait for another call, if you don't have one, I think it was Kenneth Norville who raised the issue about medicinal marijuana, and what I want to say to him, this is 2025. Soon after they started to talk about it, I had a long conversation with a former University of West Indies colleague, very, very accomplished professor and so on. The next time I speak to him for an update, I'll ask him if I have permission to use his name. I don't call people's names. But he was able to discuss this industry with me. And back then in its infancy, at least in relation to Barbados, he made the point that it was not going to get off the ground and articulated a number of reasons, correspondent banking being one of them, but that wasn't the primary one. But
Yeah.
I will promise that I am going to get an update this week on this and share. I don't see a future for that. That's another set of money that gone through the horn pipe, so to speak.
Yeah. And a whole lot of money spent on that again. It's another one of those things. And but something I'm noticing based on your presentation and also Mr. Murray's presentation, it's just how the IMF is making there are lots of moves that are being made because of the IMF, but it's done in such a way that it's done so quietly and so subtly that we don't realize that that's what it is. It's not announced really. It's a very subtly, because even with the sugar industry, all of that, all the restructuring, the changes, I believe it's because of the IMF, what they want, and the CBC as well as, and now we're here with this the other, what is it, Mr. Murray, national, another department, I forgot the name of it. But all of these things that we're seeing, where they're trying to save money or to not
Listen,
reduce expenses, it seems to be
Mar-
IMF requirements.
Marcia, we are now hearing about Doge, right? You know, the Department of Government Efficiency. We had Doge in Barbados since 2018. Remember
Yeah.
that nonsensical, what we call it, monkey survey? Where
Yes.
you are in the
Asking
hands of the
people-
IMF, and they put a notice online say, tell us which of these jobs we should drop. Put no any of the roles, the functioning. And that was the IMF. That's how they use their basis to decide. Okay, we had a course, for example, called standard typist. They said that people don't have type versions, so you get rid of standard typist job. What happens that Marcia, you know, a person might have been appointed, might have been due to appointment, and because they were not particular posts for them, say in the clerical section, you appoint them to give them any and call them standard typist, but they might be working in accounts.
Yeah.
So all those are dispensed, and they've gone through the service and dismantled the service. They now created something called, there's an efficiency unit. We even have an efficiency unit before Doge came through Trump. Barbados had an efficiency unit. They dispensed with the public secretary, office of public secretary, and call it an efficiency unit. So we are now owned and controlled by Barbados. I now call it among my friends. No, yeah, by the IMF. I now call it Barbados. We are now Barbados. We had Barbados. We had to beg for we both elected, but that we beg for. We got a statement that we beg for. That runs against the history of Barbados up to this point, up to this government. We've never been known to beg. We not renege on debts. We were proud and productive. We were called the Jews of the Caribbean because we made a lot of what little we had. And now we're in the condition, everything we beg. Barbados is now, or apart from tourism and international business, our next biggest sector is begging. Begging every day, everywhere. I'm not proud of it. And people going and shaking, begging.
You know, but
no, we have not invented, created, exported. People, and listen, the Chinese are in us. Chinese are very careful, patient people. They don't say much, if anything at all, but they do what they have to do. All the buses, the stadium, all the other things that they're doing, what is the corporate code? What is getting in return? You know what? Some of it, they set up companies in Barbados. So if you give you 30 buses that were $5 million, they set up companies that make hundreds of millions of dollars in Barbados. So they're not losing, they're not doing you any favor. They're depriving Barbadians of jobs because they're less. So we are just digging ourselves further and further as mendicants and destroying that pride and dignity and industry and doing it for yourself. We prefer to beg and shake somebody's hand and get a picture in the paper, and we think that's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
You see, the challenge, you have somebody else, Marcia?
No.
The challenge, of course, and I say it over and over again because of where it's sat. None of our bilateral partners, China, USA, Japan, UK, walks into here and says, this is what we will do. It's something called negotiation. And you have to look and determine what it is. As you say, what's the quid pro quo? What are you getting? You know, how do you deal with this? I mean, up to since last week, I'm sure I've heard, in the last 2 weeks, I've heard the Prime Minister borrowing some more money from somewhere. One of it is not cash up front, but it is what I would call a facility. But we're doing all of this, and my question is, show me how we are gearing up this economy, how we're gearing up this country to be able to repay these things. Now, this was the one, I think this is some conditional, it's a loan secures to boost disaster response. And if you scroll down a bit, David, it helps them to see what it's about. Barbados has secured a 30 million loan from the World Bank to enhance its disaster risk. Okay, you have to scroll a little further. Okay, the disaster management development policy loan includes a catastrophe deferred drawdown option. CAT-D-do.
Can't do.
You're right. It's cat-do-do. Or my favorite word. I'm saying this just so annoy Miss McClean. Cat jumping. She doesn't like me to say that.
These acronyms are so they gotta be careful with that, because that will provide a fast access line of credit. So this is actually a line of credit. So it is not, as far as I'm concerned, that is provided in particular things. Fine. The question, of course, is if you have to access this, what are the terms and conditions? And given the amount of borrowing that we've been doing prior to having access to this line of credit, what happens if we get it and we have to repair? Now, as a consumer, when you get into consumer banking, lines of credit are usually much more expensive than regular loans, because of the nature of the thing. But what it simply says is that we're seeing these things, as you suggested, they come into, the information comes in kind of by the way, so that people don't get to interrogate them. And I suppose, Marcia, if not for your show, a lot of this would have gone unnoticed, undiscussed. And then people wake up and say, well, I didn't get to see that because I didn't read the newspaper. Go ahead, Marcia.
And just to say, I mean, what we were doing it, all of us together, on the show, and then Mr. Thorne was able to come in, and I keep saying that because that is so important, along with the two opposition senators. And I harp away at that, Mr. Murray, because people need to understand that we should never do that again. Never give any, whether it's DBPQRSTUVW, nobody, don't give anybody all the seats. Don't do it. Because it's very, very difficult. You see how things are rolling through. Some things we don't even get to catch it on the show unless Mr. Thorne brings it up inside Parliament. Some of it we would have missed, Mr. Murray. We need more of Mr. Thorne inside there.
I am fascinated by this love affair that this version of the Barbados Labour Party has put itself in with the IMF. I'm really amazed at it. I remember there was a time when the IMF was seen as, you only went if you had to, and you went on very certain basic terms. Tom Mattis went in 81 for a standby rate, a short-term thing, and he put measures in place that it was no real impact. Society went on. I remember so we kept them at a distance, but now we've fallen in love with them. I remember when after,
of
course, one of the first things they did the next morning after he became Prime Minister, called the IMF and said, you have a resident ambassador, a resident representative here. I'll give you 40 hours to withdraw, and otherwise I will deport him because we know what we have to do ourselves. So when I hear you talk, Maxine, about this 20% of share divested to the work, the IMF is not going to do that because no company in America divests anything to workers. That is not a policy that they're going to do. All those little things there do not encourage, but support. It's hostile to the so-called free market system. They will call that socialism, That's the reality. So that is why they probably can't divest the worker because the IMF has not approved it. So that's where we are.
That's why we can't hear from the Minister of Finance then.
That's right. So we really are in a big spot about it.
big,
And it's
big, big. And I tell you, listen, Barbados, you know, we need to position ourselves to get ourselves out of this situation. We have to position ourselves. It's not just to talk, but when it's time, yes, go ahead. Yeah,
might I make another reference to something I did in 2014?
yeah, while we're waiting, people listening, you know, and getting jokes and laughing, but it's time for you to call in. All right, it's
Okay.
time for you to call in 246-236-7000. Go ahead, Mr. Murray.
I don't know if y'all have been following the elections in Canada with Mr. Carney for the Liberals, who was he was governor of the Central Bank of Canada, and he became governor of the Bank of England.
Yes, yes.
I met him when he was in Ottawa's High Commissioner. We had a meeting with him for the Caribbean High Commissioners. He was very calm, measured, easy, simple, explains things in very basic language, no jargon, no gobbledygook, no complex, easy to understand, easy to follow. And when they saw him, they said, "No, what that remind me of." I remember that in 2014, I wrote 2 articles in The Nation, in which I said the next Minister of Finance of Barbados should be a trained economist. Because I knew Ms. Martley was not, and she was not capable of doing a good job. If you listen to Mr. Carney, from the time this issue came up with Trump, he could tell you what he would do next, what he would do instead. He took different actions. He went to Europe. He wasn't bothered because he so knew the field so well. He knew what to call and what people to do. You cannot in this day and age, and I see she's passed it on to, she's basically passed on the Ministry of Finance to Minister Strong. But I think you got to get too hot for her. She does not know the basics. Simple. I mean, she should admit it and give it all together. She should never hide in the first thing. You can't learn it on the job, not in this day and age when things are happening every hour on the order. You have to be able to follow things, pick up cues. You might not know all the answers. We have to be aware. So therefore, we are paying this by somebody talked her into. I remember one time, one of her Dr. Purcell was pushing her, but we should develop islands offshore and give shares to all 18 years. And she fell for that.
I was going to say to you, GLYNE, if I could, Marcia, the unfortunate reality is that I don't know if it is a intellectual inability or the lack of discipline, but I think part of what I have identified through observation, interaction with the Prime Minister is she gets carried away with ideas that she hears from others. So you mentioned the island, the offshore island business.
Yeah.
And you don't sit down to process that yourself and say, look, let me think this thing through logically, critically, and step back from all because you hear these things and then you ask. In fact, interesting that you mentioned that, because I saw an article which I have to go back and read, because the United Arab Emirates, the ruler of Dubai, he invested in the construction of a series of islands. And I was reading somewhere that they're having some challenges with some of them may be sinking. At least, I have to go back and read the article, check it out and see if it's bona fide article and whatever. But the point is, they're not cheap in the first instance. We do not have the luxury of the resources that they have to do that kind of I call it experimentation. I remember I was a part of a team of foreign ministers.
Ms. McClean, let me pause you right there. There's a caller.
Go ahead.
If you just, as usual, write down the thoughts so that we don't forget it. Okay. Thank you so much. Good night, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Yes, good night, Lady Weeks, and your 2 stalwarts in Sir Murray and Lady McClean.
You can't hear. Not hearing?
A little volume. I can hear, but you need to speak a little loudly. A little louder. Sorry, not loudly, but louder.
I'm to the panel, which is
better.
Yourself and yes, can you hear me now? Better.
Yes, better. Yeah, keep it at that level. Thank you so much.
Right. Right. I'm just getting straight to the point. What really concerns me is that Barbados, whether at home or in the diaspora, it seems like the Socratic essence of your show is almost like begging a prime minister to be transparent. And whenever you listen to your show, it seems in various ways, whether it's hotel, whether it is land acquisition, whether it is the same appetite bike situation, whether it is the displacement of fellow ministers or whatever the case is. But in every water wars, you don't care however you go on twist or turn in Barbados. It is almost like there's no questions answered. And the reason I'm going to say this because before the LP exited government, you were hearing a lot of mockery. Oh, finally, he's in talking and giving him all these sort of names like Frooms and all this sort of stuff. So all of a sudden now, a party has changed, and people march all through Bridgetown, up and down, as the president said, up and down. And you are not getting any transparency from a government. All you're getting is what I always call it pediatric entertainment. You know how a pediatrician comes in and the baby is giggling and whatever the case is. The baby doesn't even know when they get the injection. And that kind of strategy is being used where the passing of bills are concerned and the negotiations of very important macro governance is concerned. And the people are finding out when? After the fact. Is that a government that the people really voted for? In other words, you have to ask, is that whether, because don't get it twisted, whether it's BLP, DLP, whatever, Barbados just cannot exist under the name of a democracy, but actually operating like a dictatorship. It cannot work.
Yeah. But this is why we are saying to Barbadians that we should vote that this never happens again. It never happens again. Yeah. But let me hear from anybody who have a quick comment. Any of the panelists?
No, I would want to agree with the caller because the prime minister, and I say a prime minister because basically she's the one whose voice we hear. Unless she gives, you rarely hear the other people speaking and speaking authoritatively without reference to her endorsing or they're speaking on behalf of her, as the way I interpret it. But they made a lot of commitments, or allowed commitments to transparency and so on. And I would say this down to a simple thing like the traveling of ministers. I read an article, it wasn't a local article, where the senior minister in her ministry, Minister Duguid, was in Nigeria last week. I don't know how many Barbadians know that, but it is, I don't think I saw, I don't recall. And as you know, Marcia, I tell you that I have a radio playing in the background of my house once I'm home, unless I'm watching something on television. I don't watch a lot of TV. So I think that it's convenient transparency. But for the most part, the majority of it is highly opaque, and where people are making demands for information, we're not getting it.
It's a deliberate policy.
Let me let the caller finish, and then we will. Okay. Yes, go ahead, caller, and then we'll close off.
Well, I must say, I trust not only the experience but the intellect of both a balanced apolitical critique of both Marie and McCLEAN. And I don't think that there should be any reason right now at this stage to be biased as it relates to justice. But where I'm going to end is that Barbados sincerely needs a transparent government and cannot continue like that, especially when you have taken a people from technically under British kind of governance and doing things technically speaking on your own. And what is going to happen now to a new republic constitution, having seen what the cybercrime bill had to offer?
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, caller. Mr. Murray, and then I'm going to talk with the audience on a particular thing and to get them to call in. Yes, go ahead.
If I might just join the last caller, what makes the situation so ridiculous and pathetic is that this government led and headed most of the prime minister promise transparency, accountability, promise a Freedom of Information Act. They do not even refer to it. This Prime Minister has never had a sit-down press conference yet with the press of Barbados in 7 years. Sit down and open, like Grant Adams, like how Tom Adams, like how Mr. Barr did, like from time to time, Mr. Snyder. That used to be a standard practice. Now, she's only had, like I said, one sit-down interview with the developers in June 1988, 3 months after she got into office. So therefore, she does not allow her, but she goes all the world and speaks to people, interviews people, but these are not those the courtesy. I think she feels that she, it's beneath her. She doesn't have to. And last point, what I'm so amazed is that I don't understand, having sat around a cabinet table with her for nearly 9 years and I worked with her in different sports, I really do not understand how she's able to bamboozle people like this. I never saw where she dominated, was so above anybody, had anybody dazzled. Wow,
Yeah.
what an insight. So I don't understand. Maybe it's just the dominance of her personality rather than what she says that more people think.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Murray, I'm glad you asked. I wonder why she's able to bamboozle people or dazzle people like this. This is a pastor. You know this picture. Let me ask the people before I even. Can anybody comment or call in to tell me what is happening here on the screen? Anybody? Don't say anything, Miss McCLEAN, if you know, or Mr. Murray. Anybody knows what's happening here on the screen? Or can call in. You can call in if you know what is happening here on the screen. Call in for me. Call in or write in the comment section. Of course, I would prefer if you call in. What is happening here on the screen? Look at it carefully. Where is the setting? I feel like I'm teaching English. You know, story writing. What is the setting here? What are the, you know, what are the props in the scene? Who are the characters here? What is happening? You know, all of that. What's going on? Anybody? Somebody said who is getting her feet? Who is it? Her? Is it me in the picture? Is it Miss McCLEAN? I'm running a class here. Who is this person? What do they represent? Who is this person getting their feet washed? What? Mustard roll? What is that? Somebody said look like foolishness. What's going on here, guys? No, it's important. I want us to examine this because Mr. Murray, I was trying for us to look at this because, you know, like he's getting ready to kiss her feet. Okay, all right. Somebody, all right. The PM, well, she wasn't the PM at the time, but she was the leader of the opposition, and this was before the elections, right? So we're putting the setting and the timing in there, and she's in a nice little dress. She would have gone to church, looking quite pious there. Look at the expression on the face. Look at all of that. We studied the character here carefully. Look at the face. Very you know, very pious. And I think she might be wearing a cross. I don't see it clearly, but there might be a little cross there. Oh, it looks like no, I can't tell if there's a cross. But you know, she has been wearing the cross, and she's wearing a lovely flowing dress. Very, you know, very, very, very what's the word I'm saying? Very flowery and so on. You know, very feminine, lovely dress, blowing in the wind, and she lovely little shoes and looking very, very ladylike. A nice little bag, I think. Am I seeing a bag? No, that's the lovely dress and very pious. Look at the face. And this is this man. He has a mic in his hand. Who is he? Somebody off the street. Who is he? Right? They're praying for her feet. So we can looking very demure, very mindful, very demure and very mindful. Yes, Leanne, very demure, very mindful. And so Somebody says a showpiece. Looking very dignified, very demure, very mindful, you know. Yes, and so she's getting her feet anointed. Now, this pastor is bending down and touching her feet and anointing her feet and all of that. Okay, and it is this is a pastor, and I think this is the church there at I think it's Covenant Life right there on Old Country Road, Mr. Murray. Is that is the church. Okay, and she's getting all of this done to her, and giving her this divine right. Then it's almost like you know what I mean, Miss McLean, Miss Murray. Almost like this is okay, you've got a divine right to lead, but look, this same church, members of these same pastors that anointed her feet and washed her feet and all of these different things, look at what's happening on Easter. And they have been calling on her, no response from her, none, zero, zilch, concerning this desecration of that same pastor's symbol. Whatever you believe of the cross, it is their symbol. This pastor that go down on his knee, touching her foot and and anointing her foot, that's his cross, his symbol. The highest symbol in the Christian church is being desecrated by this artist with all these guns on the cross. See, these are guns on the cross. And this is his album. And not just that, he's going to sing on Easter Sunday. And that pastor that bend down and grovel and at her feet there cannot get a response from this same prime minister. The pastors in this country cannot hear from her. But I tell you something, they heard from David Thompson though. And go ahead and call me DLP because I'm speaking the facts. Miss McLean not saying I am speaking the facts. They heard from Minister Lashley.
Yeah,
That cartel show. One second, Miss McLean. Let me talk a little something here, a little bit more. That cartel show was shut down. But you all grovel and you did all of that, and she's paying you not even dog mind. She's not even looking at any of you. She's not returning a message. Yes, Miss McLean.
You know, Marcia, I look at this and I think next Thursday in the Anglican Church, we call it Maundy Thursday. It is the day before the crucifixion. It is when Jesus washed the feet of his disciples, right? And anybody who understands the significance of, so the priest is symbolic of that gesture on the part of Jesus, which is a very significant, that whole weekend. I call it the holiest of the holy periods for many Christians. Different denominations probably treat it differently. But you know, what it says to me is, here you have the now prime minister, because I'm not sure when this was done. The now prime minister.
I'm being told that it was when she was prime minister.
Okay, now the prime minister then, as prime minister, and I presume that this is something similar, but in the context of the Anglican Church and the period that we're in, and the connection to Easter Sunday, if you really consider this seriously, you would have to understand the significance of from today, if no other time. Today is Palm Sunday, and that's the whole process of when, leading to the crucifixion. How can you participate in something like this if it means anything to you other than doing it for doing its sake, and be comfortable with not saying, because I mean, I have heard some, and let me finish the point and be comfortable with saying, I cannot support this on Easter Sunday. I was in a chat and somebody was making the point that everybody does not necessarily share the same spiritual and religious beliefs that I do. Fine. But at the end of the day, you are having an event on a day that is important to the vast majority of people from a religious perspective, from a, a Christian perspective, in an area which will force the people within hearing of that concert, and it is pretty far, having to deal with whatever is dished out on that day. So don't tell me that I don't have to go. That's fine. But if it is going to disturb Easter Sunday for me, I have a problem. So in other words, I will stay away, but I cannot block out the noise that will be generated. This is a little country, and we would not do it for certain other things. Why allow it? It could have been the next week. It could be the following Sunday. It could even been the bank holiday if you wanted to put it Easter Monday. But there's a significance of very important significance over the next week, and that act is a very serious one. So if you take it seriously,
very
the other things seriously.
Very serious. Mr. Murray wants to jump in. Mr. Murray, I think this answers your question, but go ahead.
Well, if the truth is, when I first saw that picture, I would say close up until you zoomed in. I thought it was somebody. I thought of Jackie Opel and somebody on the stage show saying, "I'm gonna drop down my knees and cry me a river." I really honestly did not think it was a big, able, serious woman and a big, able, serious priest or religious person could put themselves in such a travesty, pure travesty of a really significant event in the history of mankind and religion. How would a big man who went, I suppose, study theology, wash somebody's feet? It's unthinkable. But then you see, the Prime Minister has been very adept at developing a cult of personality. She really has. And it makes me wonder, what happened to these, was it 3 spiritual advisors that she had announced? What became of them?
Correct.
Do their work? Were they fired? Did they still get paid? Nobody.
Hold your thought there. Dave, can you find those 3 spiritual advisors and put them up? Because how are they advising the go ahead. Let me not take your thought.
Yeah, you don't, if they are advising, she's either not taking the advice or they're not advising because you're not seeing any effects of it in a judgment or decision making.
But I suspect that you see, like this, I mean, on Thursday coming, there, as I said, there's a ritual in the Anglican Church where the priest will wash the feet of some of the congregation, and it's symbolic. But
I understand that.
And the people who do it take it seriously. Now, my question to the Prime Minister: what does this mean to you? And in the same way that you've named advisors, have you gone beyond naming them? Huh? You not hear me?
It could be me. I was stuck.
Maybe because I couldn't hear you. I thought you were saying something, but I didn't hear. So maybe
it must be me. Okay.
So my question, really and truly, as you asked about the advisors, was the naming of them that was the purpose to name them, or are you naming them to do something, to have some connection, to offer something spiritual? So I call it form and substance, GLYNE.
What Mark said, there was a time when the governor of the central bank had a spiritual advisor. Couldn't understand it. Well, you had a spiritual advisor.
That was who was into what was the meditation? No,
it was not Curly King.
It was you don't mean Curly.
He was into transcendental
meditation. Yes.
Right. It's a different one. And the man got $20,000 a month or something.
Spiritual advisor?
Yes, man. I won't call his name to embarrass his family. I know some of the family.
I got a college and
so that happened.
And for my services.
So I thought that was bad. And then for the premise have 3. But then I also, you see these pictures, when I saw this, I remember once we were planning a meeting. I think it was probably the last meeting. One of the last meetings, the 2013 campaign at Bay Street, Esplanade. We sat down from about 9 o'clock in the morning and planned the meeting right through. The Prime Minister came late. Yeah, she came late. She was then Prime Minister. She was deputy leader of the opposition or whatever. Came late and insisted that we were about 1 o'clock, 1:30 we went to Rafa, and she insisted they had to change the program to put in a song by Paula Hines to sing for her. Yeah. So I can
It was.
understand this.
It wasn't the Paula singing, but it was the purpose and the timing in which
Yeah,
you are after
boost
people
her
spent
up.
their time.
After he spent 3 hours up, meeting down to the last second, I insisted. Afterwards, I said, lag along, because the campaign ended and lag along. But it's not, so I could see, therefore, why she would want somebody coming. Allow, even if a priest or the church there, she should say no. But I can see why she would not, because of the way she sees herself.
Yeah. And we need to call out these spiritual advisors. Let me just let people know that the pastor who was bending down at the Prime Minister's feet and anointing her feet, this was shortly before she took the bones and the flag to Ghana. Well, the bones in quotation, because they tell us it was bones. And and listen carefully to what Miss McCLEAN said, that in the Anglican Church, that's a ritual. Okay? Think about that. That was done to her. And this was shortly before, because it is in 2019 that she claimed to have taken the bones, right, to Africa, take the flag to Africa. They had put it in the hole and then take it back out because dirt went on it. We saw that it went down. And then later on, we saw that it came out. Okay? But the point is that it was desecrated. Now, it is the same one. It is the same one who went on the stage and said she don't give a F. She said that.
Right.
She don't give a F. She sang that in a song. I want to ask this pastor here that did all of that was Bishop Marlon Husbands. And we're calling him out tonight because we're saying to you, have you written to the Prime Minister about the Easter Sunday? Doesn't this count? You should have that relationship that you should be able to pick up the phone and call her, like how the alleged drug dealer and our Don, area Don, pick up the phone and call the PM and got results. You kneel down and wiping her feet and you can't call her?
Marcia, I want you to put back up the reference to the 2 spiritual advisors.
Yes, put that up there.
I want to say something.
What were the names? I don't remember the names.
The appointment of 2 spiritual advisors to the cabinet of Barbados have been applauded by a Switzerland-based religious leader. I don't know who that is, but during her address to the nation earlier this month, Prime Minister Amor says the Reverend Dr. Joel Cumberbatch and Dr. Adrian Smith would serve in this capacity. Now, I have the utmost respect for those 2 gentlemen. They're 2 different denominations. I know that Reverend Cumberbatch, Dr. Cumberbatch has retired. Dr. Adrian Smith, I think he was, what's the name of that church?
Moravian, yeah.
Well, Cumberbatch is the church on White Park. That's is that Wesleyan Holiness?
Yes, that's right. That's the one I mentioned earlier that we had on the birthday service at.
As I said, I've interfaced with both of these gentlemen, and I have the utmost respect for them. At the time, she suggested that there was a need to strengthen moral and religious leadership, as well as build new partnerships with the church. Now, my question is, has the Prime Minister gone beyond the name? And as I said to you, Marcia, I draw a distinction between form and substance. And has she given the 2 men, the 2 priests, pastors, the opportunity to do any of what she said? Because I believe that if they had gotten an opportunity, that image that you have shown there, this is just, for me, I keep saying the Prime Minister, by her words and her actions, etc., is a bundle of contradictions.
Yeah. When you call it contradiction, I see hypocrisy.
Okay, hypocrisy as well. I agree.
Because and Dr. Joel Cumberbatch, I know Dr. Adrian Smith, a fine man. I don't know Dr. Joel Cumberbatch, but I know Dr. Adrian Smith, a fine pastor. But we have to call you out, sir, because we need to hear from you. If you are the spiritual advisor to the government, what has happened? What are you advising the government about the Vybz Kartel?
Maybe they're not taking the advice.
Marcia, he's now Doctor the Most Honorable, okay?
Who that? Who is
Doctor the Most Honorable Joel Cumberbatch. You understand?
Well, Doctor the Most Honorable Joel Cumberbatch.
Right, that's what he is now.
Listen, write to him. a loyal opposition. If you can write to him, don't be rude. Ask a question. If you're part of the Christian faith, write to Dr. the Most Honorable Joel Cumberbatch and Dr. Adrian Smith. I don't know what his title is. And ask the question. Ask Bishop Marlon husband, the one that went down and touch her feet and throw oil and pray over her feet. Huh? Ask him about this concert. Get serious about it. You get serious. They need to say something. Go ahead, Mr. Murray.
Yeah, my last comment on this picture was, I cannot help just but remember, you talk about reggae. Remember Lavender had a song, Don't Bend Down? Don't Bend Down. You remember that song? He's bending down. I can't help but remember, Don't Bend Down. Right, he's bending down there. It is, everything is so wrong with it. It's so pathetically wrong. I don't believe that big able people do that. Give him a chance.
No, but on a serious note, yes, go ahead, Miss McCLEAN. We can't hear you. You're muted.
No, I'm looking at this and I'm asking because, again, what we have is a washing of the feet. I don't know what this is. This might be an anointing or something else, because I'm talking literally washing your feet with water. You know, I don't know what he's doing. Something else. So that may be. He will have
probably the
same
same
thing,
only
was
different.
and what the purpose was for.
Yeah.
But as I tell you, within the context of the church, it is symbolic of Jesus washing the feet of the disciples, which was supposed to be an act of humility. What he's doing, I don't know what that is.
But look at what somebody said. It should be the opposite. Just
yes, I was gonna say exactly that.
Thank you, Peter Earl. Come to the front of the class. Miss McCLEAN is saying this is what she was going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, but it should be the other way around, because it's a symbol of humility.
But this is what they do with these kinds of things, right? She should turn around and take off his shoes and socks and wash his foot, right? But no.
It's all laughing off.
As Mr. Murray said, the song said, "Don't bend down," and he bending down. He bowing.
Loving there.
You see, Mar said that there was washing of the feet by Jesus, but then there was the anointing of Jesus's feet using the very precious
alabaster.
From alabaster box. You see,
I remember my Bible alabaster.
So, they only say that he may be Mary without hair. So.
No, but what I'm saying is that I'm not saying you can't. You know, one of the things that they did in Kenya, the young people during the Gen Z, they would not allow the politicians to go to churches, because what they did in Kenya, Mr. Murray and Miss McCLEAN, the politicians would go to churches and try to sway the churches, because Africa, they're very big on churches. And so the Gen Z, they actually would protest. They went to the churches on the Sunday mornings and they would shout them down. They would not let them speak because they recognized that they were abusing the pulpit. You understand? And some of these leaders, and I think I'm losing my internet. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Some of these leaders, they go to church to get this blessing. And then some of them, I'm not saying this leader, some of them live like the devil, right? I'm not saying that leader. Some of them live like the devil, but then they go in and to get the blessings of God, to go off months later and do the work of the devil. And I think that if I was a pastor and I bless you, you need to be accountable. I go call and ask you what kind of thing this you're doing, especially on an Easter Sunday. So Bishop Marlon husbands, you are a bishop, a respectable bishop. You're a respectable man of a wonderful church there on Covenant, on Old Country Road. And go ahead, Dave.
Don't bend down. You promise your jewelry.
Don't bend down.
Money. Don't
bend down.
Fancy clothes.
Don't bend down.
If you touch your toes.
Don't bend down.
One more time, Dave. One more time.
One more time.
and more loving there. That's true, loving there.
Season second.
Settle.
Now this is a message to every youth man. It don't matter where you come from. If you listen to your granny all along, youth man, you can never go wrong. She said, no bend down, don't bend down, no bend down, don't bend down, no bend down, don't bend down, no bend down, don't bend down. He promise you jewelry, don't bend down. Money, don't bend down. Fancy clothes, don't bend down. If you touch your toes, don't
bend down. Don't bend down.
Them have some men on the place today, try to lead the youths astray. But I come to set them out in the track. We deal up front and don't back. No bend down, don't bend down, no bend down, no bend down.
No wonder the people won't call in. Too much joke. Oh my goodness.
I take that literally. You don't bend down to anybody.
Yes.
Anybody on earth, no human being, you should bend down to subject yourself to. But Marcia, I'm amazed, right? You mentioned Gen Z. From talking to some Gen Z people, I'm amazed how seriously they took that act of taking the flag and bones to Africa. You know,
Really?
I don't think Morty understands how offended, how much they have that in their mind. That is a significant deed that Barbados has not been the same since.
I'm curious. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, because I said the younger generation, the more skeptical, better educated, they say no. They believe that has been the forerunner. A lot of the disasters and that's happened about that. Barbados has not been the same since then. I swear.
Wow.
Marcia, but look at that. As we talk about that, I am just reading a note in the chat. This persons was are reporting a lot of shots, as somebody put it, shots grandmother and grandfather both the plane.
Oh Lord.
Somebody said it's fireworks. So I mean, I just see Bajan boy shooting homes and vehicles have been reportedly hit by gunfire at the plane. You know, this is truly frightening. We cannot go a day.
Are we talking about Tint?
We cannot go a day without something like this. Yeah. I mean, think of it. I mean, the level of stress that Barbadians are undergoing. Those in a community like this, I heard something the other night, and it might have been fireworks, but the first thing that came to me was that it was gunshots. And the thing is, I looked up. Well, I didn't. Normally, when I heard something like that in the past, I would go to see if I could see where the fireworks are. But rather than go outside on a patio, I decided to look through the curtain.
Look for it. But listen, Dave, check your WhatsApp, because in the midst of this, I wanted to read some of the comments. And I hope that the government, we laugh, but this is a serious situation. Sometimes you have to laugh because it's
too serious otherwise.
But I need the government to really think about what it is that you are actually doing. Now, one of the most serious legislations that they have come up with to fight this crime, serious, is Tint. For them, this is very no. It's the most serious one that they came up with, because they could tell you when this is going to be in effect. Remember, he said after Easter, he promised us. We don't hear anything yet about guns. We don't hear nothing, but we heard about that. So somebody did a video, and I sent it to Dave in his WhatsApp. Right, and we want to look at that. I know we're going to finish up, but it's just a few seconds. It's 10:04, but it relates to what's happening here. That here it is, this government, and you listen to the show, so you should be able to use this show as a way of finding out what is of interest to us, and what it is we're opposing. We don't hate you. We're not appreciative of what you're doing to the country. You are messing up the country. So Dave, play this, folks.
Oh, let's car here, big man. You know what stop you?
What you stop me for, though?
You mean stop for look at the tip on this car, big man.
Big man, you really stop me for 10.
Big man, the AG said that anybody got dark thing, all you got to stop them. You for real though? I mean, for real. License and registration, man. License and registration. People play shooting and you can come for thing. Or like, you know where all that shooting. You know what I'm saying? The agent tell me to concentrate on the people that got dark thing. We ain't worried about all the shooting that happen in the community. You know what I'm saying? So license and registration. I hear.
I love my child.
Yeah. But you see that he's asking for the, you can't hear it too well on that. He asking
I
for
heard
the, you heard it, the gunshots like you were hearing, possibly gunshots or whatever.
Yeah.
You were hearing, hearing all the gunshots. They played one more time. I don't think everybody catch it. One more time, Dave. We don't come again with that one. And this is the thing that Gen Z and the millennials are going to get them all the time because it don't make sense. And with my sons, with my children, Miss McCLEAN, they're looking straight you in the eye and they know you're talking nonsense. To them, and they're not joking about it.
They tell you.
Yeah.
They just dismiss you out of hand.
Yeah. Listen.
Oh, let's car here, big man. You know what stop you?
What you stop me for though?
You mean stop for the look at the tape on this car, big man.
Big man, you really stop me for tape.
Big man, the AG said that anybody got dark thing, all you got to stop them.
You for real though?
I mean, for real. License and registration, man.
License and registration. People play shooting and you can come for thing.
Or like, you know where all that shooting. You know what I'm saying? The agent tell me to concentrate on the people that got dark thing. We ain't worried about all the shooting that happen in the community. You know what I'm saying? So license and registration. I hear.
Hearing all the gunfire in the background.
Yeah, gunfire. But it's like us now. We don't worry about it. They're shooting all up in the pine, you know, in Santee Bradshaw's constituency. Don't worry about it. She's telling us, don't worry. Go and sleep because we got Tint. Tint is coming. Don't worry about it. It's basically what they're saying. Yeah. But you know, this is where we come to the end of the show. And we really pray, we really do pray and hope that everybody is safe in the pine. You know, it really pains my heart. Last night we took home a little boy who was in, you know, part of the class with Jonathan. He's a member of it, yeah. And you know, he said, you know, ma'am, that young, he is around the same age, a lovely young man, and at least two of them. And he said to me, you know, he was so quiet. He barely spoke in class. Very quiet child. And all of the children, that's what they say, that he's so quiet and well-mannered, you know. And as we were taking them home, I said, my goodness, Dave, you know, we could have been giving Jonathan a ride home, you know. And so this is a very serious situation. That has occurred, you know, and it's not a joke. It's really not a joke. And all of these pastors, they need to be holding the PM accountable, all of them. And while, yes, Dave is saying that I need to clarify that anointing the feet as somebody in the church is important, but you're anointing their feet for ministry. You know, you're not using it to it's anointing it for ministry. And so
right,
he would
that's right.
Yes, what kind of ministry? I don't know. That's what it is supposed to be for, you know. So again, Bishop Marlon Husbands, he is a bishop, a respectable bishop within his church, the Sanctuary Church. Not Sanctuary. What am I saying, Dave? Covenant Church, Covenant Life Church. And there is Dr. Joel Griffith and Dr. Adrian Smith. And
Joel Cumberbatch.
Joel Cumberbatch.
Dr. the most honorable Joel Cumberbatch.
Dr. the most honorable Joel Cumberbatch. That
mishandle.
They should be speaking to the church. They need to be you know, the church need to call them out and need to know what are you advising. You need to advise the Prime Minister on this one. I think that is fair. That is what should happen. But as we're closing, Miss McCLEAN, any final words there from you?
I just want the people who are in charge of this country now, the political directorate, to stop and ask themselves, when you make your pronouncements, when you engage in making decisions, are you comfortable that you are sending the right messages at the right time And generally, I would say, I want to say most of the time, I can't say all because sometimes you may get something wrong. But do you recognize the hypocrisy, the inconsistencies, the contradictions in a lot of what you're doing? And we already have some very confused young people because they're looking at all of this. And on top of that, they're internalizing a lot of what they get on social media, not the good things about social media, but the things that are useless or negative. Rethink what it is, because at the end of the day, you are shaping the minds and by extension, having a serious impact on a number of things. Look for things to make sure that we can positively engage our young people. We can't talk about turning around a situation if we see these things taking place. It's just not going to happen by saying so.
Yes. Okay. Let me just make this correction, Mr. Murray, before I go off. Yes, it is sanctuary. I was thinking it was sanctuary, but somebody was telling me covenant, so I kept saying covenant. But it's Sanctuary Empowerment Center. It's a wonderful church that is there on Old Country Road.
Country
And
Road,
Dr.
yeah.
Husbands is he is a legitimate bishop within the Sanctuary Empowerment Center. I am just calling him out tonight to say, sir, did you advise the Prime Minister on this particular issue? Yes? Okay. Over to you, Mr. Murray. Thanks.
Yeah, when Maxine read that news extract or bulletin about the shooting in the Pine, it made me realize that the Pine is a button and a bounding St. Michael South, the constituency of the new Minister of Crime Prevention, Mr. Kurt Humphrey. And I'd like to say that I'm interested in him coming out and speaking with firmness, forcefulness, thought about crime. I've heard him every speech he's made in the last month. I heard it over tonight or last night on TV. He's talking about great work done with the child care board, the merging, how much did for the elderly. They said, I want to hear about what you are doing for crime now. They are well taken out. They do not pose any threat to they are well taken care of. We should keep taking care of. They do not pose a threat to Barbados. Their issues don't. Turn your attention. I don't know if you don't want to deal with it. It's about time enough now. You come and see as though you're ready Minister of Crime Prevention, and let them repeat it in the public so they attach your name to it. Otherwise, you don't be camouflaged by people empowerment and child. That is well and good. We want to hear about crime prevention. That is the most important thing, apart from the economy, to Barbados right now, and what we think go together.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Murray. And I just want to use this opportunity once again to thank you, Ms. McCLEAN, for preparing such a very informative session for us tonight, and reminders as well concerning what's happening in the sugar industry. And to thank Mr. Murray for making that presentation tonight to us about CBC. Lots of great information that I didn't even know. The whole thing was just very, very educational. And I thank the viewers who join each night. We don't take it for granted, because we know we are part of a team. We are the opposition. We support the formal opposition, who is Mr. Tarn. We support him in his office, in his role as a leader of the opposition and the opposition senators. So we want to acknowledge that as well. I want to say that last evening, Bonga Lights and Lumumba Batson and his entire team, they put on a stellar meeting, and they came together with the Rastafari community celebrating 50 years of the Rastafari faith in Barbados. And so I want to just compliment them on that, and to say that it was really the lineup of speakers of the police and people from both parties, political parties, and everybody, and it was a beautiful experience. And I say, Bongo Lights, Lumumba, take a bow and thank you on behalf of Barbados. for what the Rastafari community has, given and has contributed to this country. God bless you. All right. Okay. Bye-bye, guys. And
Good
so
night. Have a good night.
Yes, tomorrow with Dr. Ferdinand Nichols. You don't want to miss it. God bless.
Goodbye.
A single bullet shattered the silence. A man lays dead in the road. A son, a brother, a father, a friend. This is a heavy load. A single bullet shattered the silence. Now a dad is missing his son. With these bullet holes in the child body, you can't help but let the tears run. We say Black Lives Matter, but you take out your own black brother. You did not consider the pain it would cause. A double action revolver, premeditated murder. You pulled the trigger, a precious life was lost. When